Welcome everyone. I am Ryan Tang. Welcome to the webinar. Get started with blended learning. I am very excited to be an advocate of blended learning, as this was my mode of learning since COVID started. Good news is that my school interchange between Zoom and in-person class seamlessly. And my favorite part of blended learning is when I have my coding class via Zoom. I can create my own apps based on my ideas. See the codes in this photo. I feel confident and empowered in dealing with all these complexity independently. Let us learn more about blended learning today. And please share with your network and social media. Remember to hashtag blendedlearninghk. I am also tasked to share the house rules with all of you. Number 1, we have simultaneous interpretation in this webinar. We will switch between 2 languages. Please refer to the globe icon. When the speaker is using English, you can pick Chinese in this icon. And if the speaker is using Chinese, you can pick English in this icon. Secondly, if you have questions during the webinar, please feel free to type in the chat tab in laptop and the more tab in the mobile version. Number 3, if you have technical difficulties, please send to technical support in the chat function. Now, I would like to pass the MC chair to my mom, Miss Anita Ma, social entrepreneur, cheerleader of NGO Playwright, who is the official MC of today's event.
Thank you, Ryan. I am really excited to have the opportunity to introduce great speakers to share inspirational insights with us this morning. Before we start, let's get a sense of where we stand today. Based on Dr. Ruben Pertadura's SAMR mode, there are various stages of EdTech application. Substitution, technology acts as a direct substitute, no functional change. Yeah, this is the right slide, yes. And there is augmentation, technology acts as a substitute with functional improvement. Modification, technology allows for significant task redesign and redefinition. Technology allows for the creation of new tasks previously inconceivable. Can you put in the poll where your school stands today? We will start the poll and you have 15 seconds. Yeah. Can you start the poll, please? Thank you. So please click your answer. Thank you. Answers coming in. 2 more seconds. I think. Okay, let's give a few more seconds as I see a lot of active participation. People are still putting in their choice. Today, we really have a lot of participation. We're close to 200 participants. So please, and currently we have about half of them voted. So let's give a bit more time. Hopefully we'll reach to 60 to 70% of the votes. Wow. Okay, last 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I'm going to end the poll and share the results. Wow, actually, I think can all of you see the result? We actually have a 39%, which is the highest in modification, and then we have 30%, which is in substitution. So I think we are kind of quite balanced. We have some in the more modification stage and some in the enhancement stage. So today we're really it's the right time and the right webinar that you are in. We're going to learn about how schools can make further progression. Okay, before we get started with the panelists, I would like to take a group photo with all of you, which is going to be a historical moment, right? That's so many of us on the screen. So can you please all share, like open up your video so that we can see all of you on screen and give us a big smile, and then our technical team will help to make a photo, okay? So I'm going to count to 3, and then we're going to try one, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Cheese, yeah. Okay, let's do one which everyone's more happy, showing maybe a thumbs up, okay? For blended learning. Okay, let's, ready, everyone? 3, 2, 1. Cheese. Excellent, thank you. Cynthia, you got it? Okay, great.
Yes, we got it.
Perfect. Okay. Now it's time to learn from the expert. Okay, may I introduce our first special guest speaker, Mr. Richard Kulata, CEO, International Society for Technology in Education, ISTE. ISTE is the largest and most well-established nonprofit organization that serves educators interested in the use of technology in education. Headquartered in the US, ISTE provides educational technology resources to support professional learning for educators and education leaders worldwide, including the ISTE Conference and Expo and the ISTE Standards for learning, teaching, and leading with technology. We're super lucky to have a heavyweight expert to share with us insights on leading successful blended learning. And after each sharing, Mr. Victor Chang, Executive Director, Hong Kong ISTE, will facilitate the Q&A session from the audience. So as Ryan said, please key in your questions in the chat function. Okay, so without further ado, may I pass the screen to Richard.
I thank you very much. It is a great pleasure to be joining you this morning for you, this evening for me. It's an incredible honor to be able to be here. I'm going to see if I can share my screen a little bit here. Let's try that. Make sure that works. All right. Oops, almost. Hang on a second. We gotta teach Zoom how to behave. There we go. All right, hopefully you can all see that. Yes, does that work? Okay, I see some thumbs up. That's good. Okay, hey, well, I first of all am super honored to have been invited to join you, and I'm excited because Esperanza and ISTE have an ongoing partnership to try to help bring blended learning to more schools. And it's a really fun opportunity. So we'll share a little bit about it. And I also, before I get started, I have an important person from my team with this here too. Annie, you just want to say hello in the chat there so people can see who you are, or wave or something. Annie is our director of learning for the Asia Pacific region. And so she will also join in a little bit and share a few things at the end. Well, my role before coming to ISTE was to lead the technology work in schools for the United States. So I worked for the White House under the previous administration. I worked for President Obama, and my job was to be able to help bring technology and learning technology to schools across the US. Now I have the great honor of working for ISTE. And for those of you who are not familiar with ISTE, you saw a little clip at the beginning of some of the work that we do, but our goal is to help teachers, school leaders around the globe be able to use technology in very effective ways. And so there's a number of ways that we do that. We have a great event. It's usually in person, but this year it will be online in June. So many of you will be able to join us, I hope, and it's a really wonderful experience. We also have something called our ISTE certification. And ISTE certification is a program for educators where they can come and get training in how to do blended learning really well. And then they are reviewed by a group of experts, and they are given a certification if they complete the program. And we now have ISTE certified educators in 40 countries around the world, including, somebody mentioned Africa. We don't have an office in Africa, but we do offer ISTE certification all around the world. And so there's some great opportunities there. Again, Annie at the end will spend a few minutes talking about some of the programs, particularly a great program that we're offering in partnership with Esperanza. So we'll hear more about that in a second. But now I want to hear from you a bit. I want to get a little bit of a sense of who you are and what you're interested in and what you're excited about. So I'm going to ask a question, but we're going to use another tool to answer it. We're actually going to jump out of Zoom, and we're going to answer the question in Padlet, if you've ever used Padlet before. So what I'd like to do is I'm just going to ask two questions. The first one is, well, let's do this. Let me ask, I'm going to do this in a slightly different order. I'm going to ask, well, let's ask, why are you interested in blended learning? Why are you here on a weekend talking about blended learning? That's my first question. So Annie, can you put the link in the chat? That's the link to it, or there's a QR code that I just put up, whichever you'd prefer. Let's jump over there for a second and just take a moment. And I'd be curious. So the question is, why are you interested in blended learning for your school? Why are you here, especially on a weekend? And I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Padlet as well. All right, and we'll be able to see here as some of the posts are coming in. And if you haven't used Padlet before, it's a great tool because you can see both pictures and images and text, and it's a little bit easier to see what people are writing when you have a big group, as opposed to trying to watch it go by really fast in the chat on Zoom. So somebody says, because my boss asked me to. That's great. Yes, I love the honesty. Thank you. Let's see, what else are we saying? Here we go. Don't know how to do online assessment. Great. We'll talk a little bit about online assessment. That's a great one. So let's see what else. Would like to see what's happening in the world around education. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Excellent. See practices or thoughts from other educators. Great. Reflect on what schools have achieved in the last couple of years. Yeah, we'll talk to you about some of those things. I'll share some of the things that schools have been doing in the last couple of years around this. Blended learning is the future. Thank you, whoever put that. I believe it is, or maybe it's the present now after COVID. I think we're all kind of there. Let's see what else. Oops, here we go. Oh, this is a nice one. Somebody put this. I think it's a mode of learning that helps students learn without all of the restrictions of time and place. Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you for saying that. Dr. Jennifer Chan Wathall said, I love ed tech, and I think we can really enhance learning for our students and prepare them for a future world. Yeah, they're growing up in a world. They're growing up in a blended world. And so it makes sense that our learning is also blended, right? Very good. You want to learn more about how we can help students move at their own pace. Great. Thank you guys. This is really helpful. It's good for me because I'm going to adapt and adjust what we're talking about a little bit based on what you're saying here. So I will try my best to respond to as many of these as I can in the next 15 minutes or so that I have. So I will absolutely try my best. Good. The last one I'll just end with, because I think it's a really nice one is it says, without geographic limitations, students can learn anywhere, anytime. That is such a good point. So thank you. I'm going to stop sharing this, but if you think of other things that you want to add there, please feel free to do so as we continue to have this conversation today. Okay, we may come back and ask a couple more questions, but for now, I want to move on and share a little bit about what I hope to accomplish today. So I'm going to move us to this. This is the way we're going to start is, what is blended learning? We use this term a lot. We say blended learning a lot of times, but sometimes I'm not sure we know we're all on the same page about what it means. So I want to start with the definition of blended learning. Blended learning it's a very simple definition. It is combining face-to-face and online learning experiences in a way that takes advantage of the best parts of both formats. So you know this, you know that there are things that work better when we're face-to-face, right? We all know that. We also hopefully have seen that there are things that work better when we are using technology as the connection, as the mediator. But they're different things. And so blended learning says, let's take the best of both. Let's find the things that work better when we do it on a computer, and let's use that when we can. And let's find the things that work best when we do it face-to-face, and let's use that where we can. And that means moving between online and face-to-face throughout the classroom, throughout the day, for homework. It's using the technology where technology makes sense. It's using human face-to-face interactions where that makes the most sense. So what I want to start with then is what does it look like? If that's what we're talking about when we talk about blended learning, what is it? How does it show up? The cool part is there are lots of different models for blended learning. There are so many more models. When I was preparing for this presentation, I started thinking about the different models. And after like 10 or 15 different versions, I was like, okay, that's way too much. So I'm just going to give you a couple examples so you get a taste of it. But the real answer is there are an infinite number of ways that we can blend learning. Now, the question came up that I just saw right here, which is, how is this different than hybrid? So hybrid simply means that you have some kids that are online and some kids that are in a classroom, right? So you could say hybrid is a type of blended learning. But blended learning is a little bit different than just hybrid, because what blended learning means, you could be in a classroom together and doing some of the activities with technology. That would be blended learning. You could be, students could be at home doing some of their work on technology and some of their work face-to-face. That would be blended learning. And so it's the idea of blended learning is there's a mix. And so what I want to show now is some of the different versions, some of the different mixes that we can make when we're talking about blended learning. So here's the first one. This is a really common one. This one is one that we see particularly with younger students. This is called station rotation model, right? So station rotation model means you have a group, you take a class, let's say you have 30 kids in your class, and you break it into 3 groups of 10. And the first group of 10 is with an instructor getting instruction, right? Like a teacher would typically give, right? And then the second group of 10 is doing online instruction. They're using the computer and they're learning from a website, an activity online. And then the third group might be doing some sort of activity with each other, or doing a workshop in the classroom. And so in each of those cases, technology might be used in some different ways, and there's some face-to-face. And after a certain amount of time, the teacher says, okay, shift. And then everybody shifts. And so the people that are in one group move over to this other station, and then that station moves to this, all the stations shift. And so now each of them go through each of these experiences in one class. That model is called station rotation. Let me show you a picture of a school that I recently visited that has station rotation. So this is the group where the kids are meeting with the teacher right here. Can you see it? And she's reading a story to them and teaching them some language. Now behind her, there's a group of kids sitting at a table, and it's hard to see, but they have computers there, and they are working on some activities, some learning activities, learning language by themselves on their computers. I couldn't get the picture right, but if you could see over to the left side there, it's cut off. There was another group, and that group was working on a project together as a group of students. And so this is station rotation, and they periodically rotate. And so some are working with the teacher, some are working with the computer. This is a great model because it allows the teacher to have a smaller group of kids to be working with at any one point, so she can tailor her instruction a bit to help those students with exactly what they need. All right. Let me show you another model. I'm going to move through these pretty quickly because I want to give you the flavor of this, right? Another model is where the students are in groups and they are working on technology to help solve a problem or meet a particular goal. So let me show you the school that I visited where this was happening. This is a school where the whole school was doing it. Every class I would walk into would look like this. There were a group of students sitting at a desk. All of them had a computer, and they were working on a project together. It might have been a presentation they had to do. It might have been something they were writing. And you can see there's about 4 or 5 different groups in this room. And then the teacher's role in this type of blended learning is to walk around and be a coach to those groups and say, hey, how you doing? Are you stuck? Are you doing okay? She would give them input, and then she would move to the other group and she would move around while the students were learning. This school was really interesting because in every classroom that I visited, right, there were probably 5 classrooms that I walked into, I couldn't tell where the front of the room was in any of the classes. There was no front of the room. There was no podium with a whiteboard where the teacher was writing, right? There were just these groups of students that were working and the teacher was moving around. There was no front of the room. There were these students working in using technology to solve problems in their groups with the teacher as a coach. So this is another model for blended learning. Let me show maybe one or two more. This is a more complex model. So this is a model where there are different types of instruction, similar to what we saw up here with station rotation. But in this model, there is usually some sort of computer algorithm, or it could be done by hand. And based on how the students are doing, it would assign them to different activities where they could then participate in activities based on their unique needs for that day. So let me show you an example of what this looks like. Here's a school, and it's a little hard to see, so forgive me, but when you walk in, you see on the left side, there's these computer screens. And what's on those screens, it looks like when you're at an airport, you have like the flight and it says what gate it's coming from, but it's the kid's name. And then it says what group they're going to be in that day. And so they look for their name when they come into the classroom and they see the group and they go, okay, they go to their group. And so there's these different groups happening. There's this group here using the computers and they're working on a project together. There's this group over on the left side where there's a teacher standing there who's actually delivering a class. And then right through all the way in the back, it's hard to see, there's another group of students that's working on a different activity. So in this form of blended learning, the students are being moved to these different groups based on what they need to learn that day. Now, at the end of the class that day, they do a quick a question. They have a question that they answer. And then based on how they answer that question, they are assigned to different groups and they come in the next day. Let me show you the last model. This is the last one that I'll have time to show, but I'm going to show it with a little bit of a video. And this is one of the easiest ones to use. And this is one where it simply says we pull in experts from other parts of the world or parts of our town or parts of our city over technology. And this is a great, easy way to do blended learning. We don't have to rely only on teachers that are in the building. And so I'm going to show a very, very short video of this because I love this example of blended learning.
Students are using collaborative technology to work with others, including peers, experts, or community members, to examine issues and problems from multiple viewpoints. We are taking the children through the use of technology and with the help of our ITS in our school to Africa. We were actually working with 2 other schools, and they asked questions about animals that they are seeing on the back of a safari truck. And they're interacting. The naturalist will actually turn and address the children by name, and they see their question up there. What's another question that you might ask about a leopard? That's the big wow factor with this. Their research comes to life to them when they see their question, and then they get the validation. and they get the reinforcement of what they've actually spent the time doing. And then from there, we researched people through the Pantanal of Brazil, and we also did several Skype sessions with other professionals taking on endangered species. It's been amazing. These little minds have turned into these huge conservationists at the age of 8 and 9.
So this is a great way to be able to use blended learning to bring in experts. And there's many other examples. If I had more time, I would show you a bunch more. These are kids that are working remotely with a university professor to identify plants around their schools. You can do so much stuff here. But I am out about the end of my time. So let me end with a final thought here. I want to share with you a pitfall to avoid. It says 2 pitfalls to avoid, but for time, I'm going to just share one. And then if we want, we'll talk more about the other. Actually, I'll sneak the other one in real quick. They might get mad at me for taking an extra minute here, but I'm going to do it anyway. So 2 pitfalls to avoid when we talk about blended learning. The first is this. We have to be very careful that we remember that blended learning happens by focusing on teachers. It doesn't happen by focusing on technology. Right? To do good blended learning, teachers have to be prepared. They have to know how to use technology well. They have to be confident in it. And if they can do really amazing things. All of these examples that I've shown so far are led by a teacher, right? And then the second pitfall is very similar, which is you can't buy your way to blended learning by buying software. Right? You can't just buy this is not the same as buying an account to some online learning program and sitting the kids in front of the computer, right? So when you're thinking about blended learning, what you're really thinking about are how can we help teachers and students use technology in powerful ways that can help make their learning experience more powerful. And if you do this, I can absolutely promise you it's a transformational opportunity. There is a moment now. In this particular moment, because of the push to adopt technology through COVID, we now are more comfortable with the technology, which is a great opportunity. So the challenge is, can we make sure that we're not just using the technology to do worksheets, to digitize old practices, but we're really using it in a blended way. So we're taking advantage of human interaction for the things that human interaction is best at, and that we're using technology for the things that technology is best at. And I hope some of those models that I shared with you can be helpful in your journey as you're doing this. So let me stop there. I'm at time. I really do appreciate that. And I think we will have a chance for a little bit of questions, right, before we move on.
Yes. So Victor, would you like to host the questions with Richard, please?
I'm sure. Richard, good morning. Morning on our side. I know it's awkward time for you, and thank you so much for joining us today and give us such an enlightening presentation. I just start with questions. You just mentioned about blended learning is not buying software and definitely also not buying hardware. But obviously, buying hardware and software is the easiest thing to do. If you have something urgent, you have money, you can solve that. But the more important thing I think we all face is about the learning resources, which are really useful for teachers. Can you enlighten us? Are there any successful initiatives, either within ISTE or beyond ISTE, that are really helping teacher or the teacher community to build a bigger learning resources bank that can promote blended learning?
So yes, and I will give you an answer, but I'm actually going to push it back a little bit. So yes, there are some great resources, and we have a really great program. Again, in a second, Annie will say a little bit more about it, that we're offering in partnership with Esperanza on to help teachers know how to create great content in virtual spaces. And so there's lots of ways you can do it. There's also some great content out there. I'm a big proponent of open educational resources, open license materials that you can use and reuse. And so that's something to consider. But I want to share something, which is I actually think the most powerful blended learning is blended learning where the teacher does not come in with content. right? It's blended learning where the teacher comes in with a question or an idea, and the students are the ones that create their own learning materials. And so there's a video that I will happy to share. We don't have time to see it now, but I'll show a quick picture of it here. This is a group of students that the teacher said, we are going to work with another group of students in another part of the world. And they were working in Africa, and they were helping design stoves that were clean burning stoves. So typically they would burn tires and things like that were really causing a lot of pollution. And so they said, we're going to help create stoves that are clean burning. So there was no textbook, there was no lesson, there was no content. The teacher said, here are our goals. We want you to use your math skills. We want you to use what you know about the environment and design this project. And so the students themselves were designing the content. And that is when blended learning gets really awesome, right? When the students are the ones actually creating the materials.
Thank you. We have a question asked about how much teacher training is required, and how would you recommend to implement proper blended learning in teacher training?
Yeah, thank you. It's a great question. So first of all, that is the most important thing when switching to blended learning is to focus on teacher training. It is more important than the computers. It's more important than the software. It's even more important than the content. Although, you do need some computers and you do need some content, but focusing on the teacher training is really the most important part. But here's the good news. You don't have to do this all at once, right? You can say, I'm just going to start with one section of one of my classes. And in this class, instead of me standing in front of the class and teaching the whole time, we're going to break the group into two groups. And some of the students are going to go over here and work on their computers on a project. And I'm going to teach the other. And then we're going to switch. You just do it one day, right? And you learn from it. And then maybe next week or in 2 weeks, you say, now I'm going to try doing it 2 days. Or I'm going to write. So you can very slowly, you can ease into it. So the nice thing about blended learning is you don't have to be stressed out. We've had enough stress this year. We don't have to worry about stress. Little bite-sized pieces, take one little part, use that, and then do a little more and a little more. And that's the way you can work your way into it.
Thank you. You talk about stress. Really, we still have quite some school districts and some places that are still having pure online learning for students. So how would you position or suggest a different approach in blended learning for this kind of online only environment for some time?
Yeah, look, you can do blended learning. This is the great thing. You can do blended learning if you are in a classroom. You can do blended learning if you are online. So we did a little blended learning here, just a little bit, because we didn't have much time. But you notice that I was talking for a bit, and then we said, let's go over to Padlet, and we're going to use Padlet to put in some answers to some questions. You guys, that's blended learning. It's this is face-to-face right here. I mean, I know we're doing it over Zoom, but this is face-to-face. So we're face-to-face for this part of it. And then we say, wait a minute, instead of doing it all face-to-face, there's a part where it's better to use technology to get a better sense of your thoughts. And that's when we switched over to Padlet. But remember, you could do much more than that. So somebody mentioned assessment, right? Most kids have one of these, a phone, right? Or device or that has a camera on it. And so one of the assessments could be if you're studying, I don't know, if you're studying science and the question could be, go and find an example of a material that you're looking for. Go find something that's made out of this type of metal. I don't know what it is, or a leaf or what, right? And go take a picture of it and then come back and share that picture on Padlet. That's blended learning right there. You're using face-to-face for what it's best for, and then you're using technology for what it's best for to draw in the students' lives into the classroom. And so even if you're in a fully online environment, you can still do blended learning in just the same way.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just picking up some question from the chat room, but I don't want to miss anything. So in case anyone who want to raise a question, actually you can feel free to unmute yourself and just jump in. We still have a few more minutes for questions. Now, I have a question from myself, actually, because prior to this pandemic, actually, one of the most hot topic in e-learning is about personalized learning, which have a lot of promises from AI, big data, adaptive learning, adaptive assessment, and so on. how would you see this so-called personalized learning and that kind of promises come together with the new mode of blended learning?
Mm-hmm. So personalized learning, there are lots of ways to think about personalized learning, and one of them is what I call black box personalized learning. And that's where you have some AI machine that sits in the background and figures out exactly what you need to know and sort of puts everybody right in the right direction. Yeah, some of that's probably okay, but that I actually don't think is the most effective way for us to learn, because it's important for students to be making their own choices and knowing where they need help and knowing where and how they need to progress, not just magically seeing what's on the screen in front of them, right? And so one of the reasons I love blended learning is that if you do it well, you actually can start to personalize learning even without a whole bunch of AI. Because remember, like in that I showed before in that station rotation model, well, what you can do is as a teacher, you can say, hey, when I'm working with these 5 kids, I used to be a teacher. When you have 30 kids in your class, it's really hard to know how your kids are performing. But when I can break them into a smaller group of 5 to 10 kids, I can see where they're struggling easier. And I can do that with each of the kids. And so I get a chance to tailor my instruction to them specifically. That's the first way blended learning can help. But the other thing is that blended assessment is really powerful too. So look, if I'm using blended learning, and instead of giving a test where you fill in the answers on paper, and next week I give you the results, and then by the time we know what you got wrong, we've already moved on to another unit, right? That's not very helpful. But with blended learning, I could say, like you did at the beginning here, I could pull up a poll very quickly. I could say, all right, 3 questions, let's just get the answers. Immediately, I know who's struggling, you know who's struggling, and these assessments, they don't have to count for your grade, right? They can be formative assessments. So blended learning allows us to use lots of quick questions and quick checks, so we know how our students are doing long before they take that final test that actually counts for their grade.
Yeah, thank you. Again, if there are questions from the floor, please feel free to raise your hand. I believe our technical support would manage or let me know.
I'd like to ask a question. Yeah. I'm struggling to find the hand raising icon.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Can I go ahead? Richard, thanks for that. I'm heartened that you start by telling us, there's an infinite set of set of models for doing blended learning. In all the examples you've given us, you've kind of drawn from contexts that have reliable electricity supply, and there's some givens. I'm thinking of contexts that don't have those. What kind of blended learning models would actually work best in those kinds of contexts?
Thank you. Great question. Look, in order to have blended learning, right, there has to be some sort of technology. That is the definition of blended learning. Yeah. But it doesn't mean everybody has to be on a high-speed, mega bandwidth connection, right, all the time. One example I used a second ago, which is a really good one, is there is so much that you can do on these things, right? You can do great blended learning just on mobile devices and even old ones, right? So one of the, one great activity that I've seen is just using QR codes. So if you create a class activity and the students are moving around to different stations, as if they have a device that can read a QR code, they can scan a QR code and they can get the information they need about participating in that activity, even if you don't have, great connection or bandwidth outside. You could even do activities with no, you could do blended learning with no internet connections. If there's laptops, for example, the example that I saw before, showed earlier with the students working in groups, they were making presentations. They were working together to solve a problem. That could just be done on a laptop, using presentation software. So obviously, if there's connection to the internet, that gives lots of additional options. But even if there isn't, you can still use technology to augment learning in really powerful ways.
We have Mr. Lau Shui Kong raised his hand. I believe he has a question to ask. Mr. Lau? Can you come unmute yourself. If it would take us some time, then I just open again to, Mr. Lau, you want to speak?
And if not,
no, that's all right. Yeah.
It.
We have another question regarding the parents and about parents' role and their concerns on increasing screen time that the kids are using.
Yes.
Your response to that.
Oh my goodness! I just wrote a book about this. I literally just finished writing a book about this, and so I will try to. I will try to give you a quick answer, but again, having just written a book about it, I have a lot of thoughts. So let me share this, and the fastest way I can share it is screen time is a really bad way to think about finding balance for kids. We do want balance, right? We absolutely want balance. We don't want kids that are using technology so much they're not thinking, or it's inhibiting their other activities. But the problem with screen time is screen time assumes that all activities are of the same value, and they're not, right? Some activities are of really great value that we could do. There's almost no limit to it, right? We could continue to use, if I'm using technology to connect with a family member, go for it. Do it as long as you want. I'm not going to put any limit on that. If I'm using technology to write or to read as a kid, I'm not going to put limits on that. And so it's really important that instead of thinking about screen time, we think about balance. And so the question is not should there be a set amount of time, but what is it that you're doing? And so if you're playing games that are games that are not very, very useful on your phone, that's fine, but we should only do that for a little bit of time. If you are doing activities like we're doing here that are interactive, and it's healthy and it's engaging, there can be much longer amount of time. All of the research on screen time was based on television, where there was no interaction. And so there is really no, there isn't any, and UNESCO, by the way, has updated their guidance on this as well. So if you're worried about time in front of a screen, there aren't any impacts that we're seeing in terms of time in front of a screen. The impacts are if the activity that is on that screen is stupid, right? That's where you have problems. And so it's a little bit of a nuance. We have to tease that out, and we have to make sure people understand that it's about what you're doing on the screen and not just the time. And in a totally shameless plug, I will say, if you want to know more about that, this is the book that I just wrote. It's called Digital for Good. It will be out next month, and it gives a whole bunch of information for parents on how to think about screen time better in a virtual space.
Thank you so much. I totally agree. Actually, how you spend the time is really making a difference, not just the time. You mentioned earlier you have something for Annie to share. I would maybe pass over to you.
Let's do that. Thank you so much, Annie. Why don't you join us for a second, because we have a great partnership that we have, and I think it could be really helpful for those of you that are interested in learning more about blended learning. So why don't I hand the microphone over to Annie for a second here and let her share that. Annie, do you want to join us?
Sure. Thanks, Richard. So thanks everybody for joining us. And before I jump into introducing the program, I'd love to thank Esperanza. We developed lots of partnership in Asia in this 2 years, but Esperanza is really one of the best partner I'm working with. And we've been preparing this partnership since last year. And here are the 6 important elements in this program. So first is join ISTE Live 21, the annual live conference started from June 26th. And the second one is enroll in the virtual ISTE Summer Learning Academy started from August 2nd. And then develop a blended learning school project with peer-to-peer support. There will be awesome local expert, Hong Kong expert providing this to educators. and also join ISTE Creative Constructor Lab virtual from October 15 to find new ways to activate student learning. And also with this program, if you choose to join, you can enjoy 1 year ISTE membership. And also program participant might be featured by Assert Media and ISTE 22 conference. And then I will introduce ISTE Live 21. So when I'm preparing it, I just feel, I don't know where to start because it's so great. There are lots of great functions on the ISTE conference platform. So last year we have more than 13,000 educators joining us from 94 countries. And we have lots of great feedback coming from educators. When I'm thinking about it, I really want to start from a very simple point, like an educator view. Like, what will your blended learning experience look like at ISTE Live 21 if you're a 5th grade English teacher and you have a goal to learn more about blended learning? So let me do a demo with the ISTE 20 platform. So here is the ISTE 20 platform. ISTE Live 21 will look a lot similar with this platform. So if you're the first time ISTE participant, you will land onto this page. And you may want to have some real person to support you because it's your first time to join ISTE. And you can click this to get to the help desk. There will be some expert who know ISTE from the bottom to the top. And you can ask, hey, I'm a 5th grade English teacher, where should I start? And you can get a list of sessions, or they will let you know where you can start, and you can start your ISTE journey. And also you may want to explore by yourself, and you can click here, browse program, and you can see some featured voices. They're all main stage speakers. They have great experience. There are school principals, there are researchers, nonprofit leaders. And also when you do the onboarding process on ISTE platform, we will ask you several questions like, what are your interests? And we really have the Netflix idea to recommend some of the sessions to you. So even if you join ISTE for the first time, you can quickly find your sessions. For example, I have blended learning as one of my interests. So here are the top recommendation for me. And you can see there are plenty of them. So you can feel confident to spend a chunk of time here. And also you may want to search blended learning and find more. So you can put blended learning here and click search. And then you will land onto this page. You can see there are 37 sessions related to blended learning. So we have about 940 sessions in total. So for any topic, for example, project-based learning or design thinking or blended learning, you can get a bunch of them. So there are blended learning in 90 days. It's kind of attractive and also like the perfect blend. Let's try this one. And you will land here. So let's hear something about So as you can see, the educators are sharing about the concept, like how do students interact with content, and also the educator will share several tools for you to use. Lots of them are free because it's really educator share their experience and how do they practice in their classes. And also one of the things I love the most about ISTE is like the educators are so generous sharing resources. you can download lots of PDF or their presentation by this digital tote. And if you add it to digital tote, you can find it here on your dashboard. So I collect lots of great resources, and I can come here and download them. It's just like a digital folder to collect all of the great resources. So here is some sharing about the ISTE platform. And let me go back to share the Summer Learning Academy. So the goal of the Summer Learning Academy is to help K-12 educators move from surviving to thriving with the intentional use of technology to meet the new realities of learning. So there are 15 hours learning, and there is self-paced course with some synchronous options like webinar. And also this year we add a learning community, which will pair educators all over the world with same interests. For example, if you're interested in blended learning, you might be paired with an educator in Australia, like a 5th grade English teacher there. And there are the 3 self-paced courses. And for this course, accelerating student-driven learning, blended learning will be emphasized. There will be learner autonomy and project-based learning, blended and flipped learning modules, and also growth mindset and adaptability. And also we know students are overwhelmed by the pandemic as much as educator. So we really want to help students learn some social emotional knowledge. And also with this part, designing for inclusion, student difference will be introduced. And also they can, educators can learn about universal design of learning. And let me give a very quick overview of the Creative Construction Lab. I will not share the interface because it looks a lot similar with the ISTE Live 21, which I just shared. But for Creative Construction Lab, there will be more hands-on experience. There will be more workshop. And for the ISTE membership, there will be lots of great member benefit, but the most popular one is Professional Learning Network. For example, if you're a computer science teacher, you can join the Computer Science Network, and there will be great resources shared all the time, and there are hundreds of webinars like this. And for ISTE certification, Richard just briefly introduced it, is for classroom teachers, curriculum specialists, library media specialists, and technology coaches. And it's based on the ISTE standard for educators. We really have a pedagogy focus and technology second concept when building this program. And educators can have graduate level credit after they finish this certification. We will provide a small number of ISTE certification scholarship for the successful participants. And if you successfully finish this program and you have great experience to share, your stories might be chosen to be featured by the ISTE. ISTE is the leading news and information resource on the latest innovation in teaching and learning. And we'd love to have more of the Hong Kong educators' voice here. And also, we love to invite some of the successful participants to share your learning experience, your stories with us on ISTE 22 in New Orleans. And I think this program is wonderfully designed for Hong Kong educators, and there are great Hong Kong experts to support you as well. So I will finish my instruction, and hopefully you will register this program, and we will see you on ISTE Live 21 and other programs. Thank you.
Annie, thank you so much. I really appreciate you giving those. And these supports, our goal as a nonprofit organization, our goal is just to provide supports to help make sure you have what you need to do to really be successful in blended learning. And a lot of that is just seeing many more examples. I showed like 10 very, very quickly, but these opportunities that Annie's talking about will just give you lots more opportunity to dive in a little deeper and see more. While Annie was talking, I did my best to go back through the chat and I tried to answer all the questions that were there, but I'll hang on for a minute. And if there are any further questions, you can put them in the chat and then we'll, I know there's a lot of other things going on that Annie will tell us about what's happening next, but just wanted to wrap with a huge thank you from me for the work that you're doing. This has been a crazy year. I feel like all of us just need to, take a nap for like 6 months to make up for how exhausting this year has been. So thank you for your creativity. Thank you for all of the learning that you're doing. And as you learn to take advantage of all these new tools that we have as we move forward, by figuring out how to do blended learning can really not just keep doing what we've always been doing, but really transform learning and empower students, which in hindsight may make all of this COVID stuff be one of the best things that's ever happened for education in the long run. So thank you. Great to be with you all. Annie, you want to tell us what's happening next?
Thank you. I would like to say, because in view of time, so we're going to move on to the next session. Thank you so much, Richard, Annie, and Victor, for this wonderful share. I can't wait to buy your book, to read your book. Okay, I just as a parent, right? And totally
Thank you.
Very excited about the ISTE platform and all the opportunities for the Hong Kong education community. Okay, so thank you. And now I'm going to share the screen again. Yes, yeah, and okay. And as some of the Q&A chat, some people asked about how to do the raise hand function. So it was shared in the chat that you can look for reaction, and then you can find a little raise hand icon in your various gadgets, and you can raise your hand if you have questions in the future. Okay, so now we're going to switch to Cantonese station. Okay. 咁我哋而家咧就將我哋嘅眼光咧轉移翻嚟香港啦。跟住落嚟嘅小組討論咧係會研究下我哋喺香港點樣推行混合學習嘅。我哋主講嘉賓咧就包括咗曾俊華先生，佢係薯片叔叔共創社創辦人啦。施俊輝先生係香港特別行政區教育局局長政治助理。而啱啱 Victor 香港教育城行政總監鄭柏良先生咧，亦都係呢個小組討論嘅主持人。咁我就將個時間交俾3位啦 ，Victor 唔該。
好，唔該晒，多謝晒。就轉廣東話 channel 咁首先咧就好高興啦，今日能夠同阿 John 同阿 Jeff 一齊啦。咁阿 John 應該我哋其實咧就舊年大概呢個時間啦，啱啱疫情開始咧，其實 Esperanza 同教城咧，亦都合作過搞過一個關於 e-learning 嘅 seminar 嘅，咁即係真係眨下眼就一段長時間啦。我都想再趁呢個機會咧，或者阿 John 去分享下，即係Esperanza 其實非常之活躍，同埋非常之關心即係香港教育嗰個即係一路嘅發展啦。咁你可唔可以講下其實有啲乜嘢進展咧喺你哋嘅工作上？
多謝 Victor。其實真係好不幸咧，我哋係有一個疫症咧，先至俾到我哋意識得到，即係我哋已經係踏入咗21世紀啦。同埋即係呢個亦都係一個好機會咧，俾我哋即係睇到咧呢個科技咧，其實係可以幫助我哋推動一啲係有質素嘅學習嘅。頭先阿 Richard 都好。即係好詳細咁，即係講咗即係成個呢個混合教育呢一方面嘅嘢。但係其實佢係真係一樣嘢，我哋可以係愛嚟用喺我哋啲班房嗰度。因為我諗最重要嘅咧，呢個咁樣嘅學習咧，可以教到我哋啲學生咧，就係呢一樣嘢係可以喺任何時間、任何地方都可以舉行。我哋可以用科技嚟超越呢一個地理上邊嘅界限啦，同時佢亦都係可以係任何人、任何嘅 程度咧都可以係接觸得到嘅。咁我哋都知道，我哋而家現代嘅啲學生咧，即係佢哋都係呢啲所謂數碼土著嚟嘅，digital natives。咁即係佢哋咧係你可以係用一啲 games 啊，或者 AR、VR 呢一類嘅唔同嘅科技咧，係可以吸引到佢哋，鼓勵佢哋咧係參與啲唔同嗰啲嘢。但係更加重要，我相信成個混合教育咧係可以幫助啲老師咧係減輕佢哋個行政嘅工作啦。亦都可以佢哋用到呢個人工智能啊、數據分析啊各方面嗰啲嘢咧，係持續咁可以跟進到學生嗰個表現。所以即係我哋今日就介紹好多呢啲咧，就係其實同老師有關嘅，因為我好相信咧，如果我哋可以提升到老師嘅能力，嚟令到呢個混合教育咧嗰個提高佢嗰個效率咧，呢一個咧係一個最高持續性嘅方式嚟嘅。咁我哋希望即係今日之後可以係或者係從政府嘅角度啊等等咧，都考慮一下點樣係可以就唔係話淨係將啲硬件啊或者係某啲嘢係去到學生或者去啲學校嗰度，我哋要留意一下喺老師呢一方面咧，點樣可以提升得到呢一方面嗰個能力咧，我係將呢一樣嘢嘅推廣咧係會非常之有用嘅。
係非常之同意，即係始終我哋好多進步都係要靠老師嘅。或者問下 Jeff 啊，我就知道你最近咧就又打乒乓波啊，咁樣都好多你嘅犀利嘅嘢嘅。不過今日咧，我哋想講下呢個話題，就關於呢個即係唔知你覺得政府喺呢個 blended learning 上面咧，又可以有啲乜嘢或者係做有計劃啊，或者有啲咩可以推動到咧？
好啊，多謝 Victor。承接住頭先阿 John 所講咧，的而且確咧，疫情過去呢一年係一個催化劑啦，好多我哋做電子學習或者blended learning 喺過去一段比較長嘅時間都即係未完全係比較普及咁做到。但係喺過去呢一年咧，因為疫情咧，其實係喺學界啦，或者其實喺整個社會都產生咗好大嘅變化。咁過去呢年係真係好困難嘅，好大嘅挑戰咁。但係喺學界咧，都睇到有好多良好嘅示範啦，好多範例啦，好多學校好多老師都即係做咗好多嘅功夫，令到咧我哋睇得到咧喺係有幾多一啲良好嘅事例可以多啲去做分享嘅嚇。不過我自己睇咧，其實我每一次聽阿 Richard 去做 sharing 都有好多嘅啟發。剛才佢最初去定義 blended learning 咧，講到一個幾重要一點啦。我自己覺得就係其實係要去掌握到無論係面授課堂以及係一個網上學習模式嘅 best of both worlds， 即係喺兩方面咧，其實點樣係都可以發揮到一個最大嘅效益咧，先至可以咧係令到我哋嘅同學嘅學習嗰個效能係相得益彰。過去呢段時間咧，其實疫情係令到我哋喺 face to face 面授課堂嗰邊嘅學習咧，係唔係完全可以做到嘅？即係所以咧，過去呢一年我哋推嘅一個混合模式嘅學習咧，其實咧都係一個比較不平凡、不尋常嘅情況之下去發生嘅。如果我哋希望要去延續好即係我哋過去呢年嘅一啲嘅進步啦，其實咧即係點樣去喺第時疫情完結咗之後都可以繼續延續落去咧。其實係即係喺無論係裝備好老師啦，即係呢個喺政府嘅層面，我哋好樂意去做多啲培訓啊，或者好多唔同類即係嘅支援嘅工作，希望俾得到多啲老師啦。亦都同Victor 你領導嘅教育城，我哋一齊喺呢方面咧 可以嚟緊，譬如係建立一個平台啊，今年嘅施政報告第165段咧，行政長官都特別係講咗，就係提到會有額外嘅資源咧，擺喺呢個我哋進一步推動 blended learning 嗰個嘅學習模式方面。咁希望我哋係嚟緊一齊努力包括以及係同好似 Esperanza 啲咁有心嘅 NGO， 大家一齊咧係做好去對學界嗰個支援嘅工作。
係啊，即係Jeff 就完全即係教成，當然就我哋都好睇到咧，即係香港點學習過1-2年嗰個即係用量就參與程度真係突飛猛進啦，即係咁咧。但係我哋學界亦都開始討論一個問題咧，即係話我哋亦都要真係前瞻性啲。咁即係我哋當然希望疫情總會過去啦。咁我哋喺今次疫情之間得到嘅經驗或者老師差唔多好似裝咗加速器咁樣，突然間就喺科技應用上面亦都熟悉咗好多。咁但係喺疫情之後，當我哋翻學校啦，咁會唔會又變翻傳統學習咧？定係我哋有啲咩工作咧，可以令到我哋去繼續維持即係呢一個 momentum， 令到嗰個即係教育界更加能夠利用到科技咧？或者阿 John 可以分享下先啦。
係啊，我哋都大家都知道啦，喺香港嚟講，我哋個成個教育基建我哋提供俾學校嗰啲硬件咧，真係可以係領先世界嘅。即係我哋個資源係充足但好多時我哋啲資源入到去，主要都係即係或者呢，亦都係好多初步都會係咁，都係入到去硬件嗰度所以我覺得而家咧係一個好好嘅機會咧，俾我哋係更加多啲學習嘅或者發展嘅機會嘅資源咧，係擺去老師嗰度可以再擴大呢個持續性。呢個未必需要淨係喺香港嗰度進行，好似頭先喺 ISTE 嗰度，呢度有好多學習嘅資源，我哋亦都可以係喺嗰邊尋求多一啲。我哋而家喺Esperanza 亦都係開始同即係教育大學嗰度做一啲研究。咁我哋希望咧就可以更加深入啲去了解到學校而家遇到係有啲咩問題，同埋需要有啲咩嘅支援，先至可以做到嘅。我諗稍後好似 Professor Kong 係會再介紹喺呢一方面嗰啲嘢。咁因為而家需要嘅喺即係喺香港呢一度，即係除咗學校之外，喺家長各方面咧，都要有一個比較徹底啲嘅改變喺個心態嗰度，即係就住即係啲同學係要學啲咩嘢，係要點樣學。咁所以喺我諗喺教育處嗰度咧，亦都要開始睇睇我哋而家個學習目標喺21世紀嗰度個學習目標應該係咩嘢咧？我哋嗰個學習嘅範圍個次序應該有啲咩改變咧？課程應該點樣咧？教學模式應該點咧？咁呢啲嘢咧，即係因為而家喺21世紀嗰度，啲所有嗰啲cognitive objectives 就可能比較認知嗰類嘅目標咧，係要有一個好大嘅改變。因為而家係唔係我哋更加需要係提供多一啲指導咧，就係喺一啲比較軟性啲嘅技能上邊，好似啲合作溝通創新即係各方面嗰類啲嘢咧，係要做一個比較心態上邊有一個好徹底嘅改變。
係冇錯。咁就唔知阿 Jeff 咧，你又會唔會有啲擔心？即係將來即係唔係擔心疫情退去就大家都好開心啦。不過咧就即係而家有時又好辛苦得到嘅少少成果咧，會唔會第日可以持續到落去？你又點睇咧？
的確係喺疫情嘅發生之前咧我哋睇到其實好多時去係推動多一啲嘅唔同形式嘅一啲創新嘅教育工作咧，係喺即係嗰個教育現場前線嘅層面咧，可能都係需要多啲時間，好多轉變先至去。
嗰個咪Jeff 嗰個咪要開翻先啦。頭先唔知 reset 一下熄咗，好。
OK 係好。咁就頭先講到究竟喺學校嘅層面啦，即係一直以嚟面對嘅一啲困難係啲乜嘢咧？包括會唔會係家長嘅一啲心態 或者係唔同形式嘅支援點樣可以做多啲咧？我覺得頭先阿 John 講到話一個嘅研究去同教大同阿 Professor Kong 大家一齊去做咧，呢一個嘅方向咧係好嘅嚇，因為我哋都要即係對症下藥啦嚇。如果嗰個嘅困難，譬如有時候係一啲喺家長嘅層面嚇，可能家長頭先我哋第一個 session 都有提到，譬如擔心嗰個 screen time 嘅時間太長，或者對一啲相對年幼嘅小朋友，可能係覺得即係未必覺得太長時間太多嘅電子學習係合適嘅。咁我哋可能就喺政府喺教育局嘅層面咧，就要做多啲家長教育嘅工作啦，去幫學校去，譬如係同不同嘅持份者去做多啲解說嘅工作啦。咁我呢啲喺政府嘅層面，我絕對願意去做嘅。咁至於即係頭先一路有喺度討論到，即係一個資源係咪只係愛嚟買硬件軟件嘅問題咧？我見到喺 chat room 都有朋友都有提到，我覺得喺我哋政府嘅角度咧，其實即係呢個係基本嘅嚇，即係尤其是對於喺疫情我哋睇到啦嚇，有一啲基層嘅同學嗰個即係一啲基本嘅設備裝備都未必有嚇，咁甚至而家講到有啲學校即係可能係做一啲嘅網上嘅評估咧，係要唔止一部機要影住嗰個同學啦，係嘛？咁呢啲所有嘅即係對於學生嘅支援咧，其實喺政府嚟講，我哋都覺得係需要繼續去作出嘅。咁提供資源就絕對唔係淨係硬件軟件啦嚇。即係我都好同意嚇喺對於教師個支援嗰方面，呢個係首要嘅。其實即係無論係推電子學習混合模式嘅學習，或者任何嘅一啲教育創新嘅工作咧，我哋都係應該將嗰個首要嘅優次咧放喺即係去支援教師嗰方面。
好，多謝啊！因為時間咧，我哋就差唔多。不過其實今日咁難得咁多專家喺度咧，我又想即係有機會剔一兩個問題。就其中一個問題咧，就係即係有提出咧，就即係學校嘅 technical support 其實都幾重要嘅。不過就即係就有啲擔心，即係香港嗰個學校嘅技術支援就有啲局限咁樣。咁唔知呢個你哋有冇咩睇法咧？我諗係主要指人手方面啦，即係唔係啲基建嗰啲咧。
係，即係我講一講，即係
好啊。
Jeff， 你講先啦。你講先。OK， 哇！我最近我就睇咗喺 Brookings 嗰度，佢咧就出咗個研究。佢咧就喺度講好有趣嘅，即係佢覺得政府佢哋睇到咧，佢做咗個研究咧，就政府咧係提供一啲教育科技上面嗰啲創新咧，只係佔11%。但係我就好覺得咧，政府係有一個領導嘅作用啦，同埋亦都有一個資源分配上面嘅作用啦，所以佢角色係非常之大嘅。因為喺 Brookings 呢個研究嗰度講咧，佢其實咧就係強調喺個非政府機構，佢哋係佔46%，私人機構咧40%嘅，40%私人市場上邊嗰度。所以嗰個初創角色咧喺嗰個非政府機構上邊嗰度，亦都係重要。咁我哋亦都希望政府亦都可以有一個聯繫，一個支援咧，係可以幫到呢個嗰啲非政府機構嗰度咧，係採用更加多啲比較bold、比較勇敢啲嘅模式咧，去試用一啲新嘅嘢咧，係可以將啲成功嘅例子咧，可以帶翻嚟。我哋亦都要可以推動下啲企業上邊嗰度，係因為第一，佢哋係越嚟越需要更加多啲數碼能力高嘅員工。第二，我相信佢哋亦都了解得到咧，而家成個教育科技一個 EdTech 嗰個市場潛力亦都係好大嘅。咁即係所以咧，我哋希望喺嗰個企業嗰度，我哋亦都可以鼓勵佢哋做多啲嘢。我哋更加需要更加多啲有遠見嘅投資者咧，去投入去個 EdTech 嗰度，等佢可以有一個更加好嘅發展啦。
好啊，就阿 Jeff。
好啊，其實咧，都好想藉呢個機會同大家分享下過去呢幾年咧，我哋即係教育局都有參與一啲國際上邊嘅一啲教育研究，咁就有一個係比較小範圍嘅喺全世界咧，就大概6至7個嘅教育系統咧，咁由喺 OECD 啦嚇，同埋喺美國嘅 NCEE 嘅機構咧，佢哋就去做一個關於未來成個教育點樣發展嘅走向，點樣走向嘅一個研究。咁當中咧，頭先阿 John 都有提及到，即係其實咧，我哋係要諗緊未來個世界會係點嚇，即係點樣更好地裝備我哋今天嘅同學咧，係應對呢個未來嘅世界咁。其實未來一定係一個 blended 嘅 work 世界嚟嘅，咁所以其實我哋做 blended learning 係好理所當然嘅事啦。咁但係當然其實就可能講混合模式嘅教育只係其中一部分嚇。而家我哋喺嗰個國際上邊嘅研究咧，其實就係有將未來嗰個發展咧分做幾個嘅 scenarios， 即係譬如可能有 A、B、C、D 幾個嘅估計啦，因為未來大家冇人估到會係點啊。最極端咧，可能係講緊我哋今天學校作為一個 institution 咧，呢一個嘅模式咧，已經未必再存在啊！將來咧，即係真係唔係 personalized learning 啊，變咗 individualized learning 係完全真係好多嘅學習咧，已經係好完全嘅係個人化咁樣。咁已經即係學校嗰個角色可能同今天已經唔同。呢個當然係最極端啦嚇，但係咧喺如果一個咁嘅 scenario 之下，我哋由今天去到講緊2035年啦嚇，都係10年後嘅事，究竟會係成個教育嘅發展應該係點咧？咁呢啲嘅分析咧，就我覺得對於我哋嚟緊成個嘅教育規劃都好有幫助嘅嚇。頭先講到對學校唔同方面嘅支援啊，咁始終大家睇到香港嘅往績包括喺即係John 做財政司嘅時候咧，都係好支持教育嘅。我哋即係對教育嘅投入，雖然即係如果講同即係老齡嘅人口比咧，而家我哋適齡學童嘅人口的確佔全港嘅嗰個人口嘅比例係有下降啦，但係即係政府從來大家睇到係唔會吝嗇喺教育方面嘅嗰個投資咁樣嘅嚇。咁不過我覺得最重要都係成個大嘅方向，成個規劃要有喺度嚇，大家即係要睇到嗰個所謂發展嘅目標係點樣咧？咁我覺得做其他嘅配套配合嘅工作，先至會更加可以即係做得好出嚟嚇。
係，我哋就好可惜時間所限，否則我哋仲有好多話題可以傾嘅。不過咧，就因為我哋時間都差唔多，咁其實 chat room 都有好多討論，我覺得就都即係鼓勵大家參與者去望下，我覺得有好多有價值嘅討論嘅。咁就或者我應該呢個時間交翻俾主持人。係
好，唔該晒，係啦。咁就多謝3位嘉賓對於香港推行混合學習情況嘅分析同埋分享。確實疫情俾到一啲新嘅推動，但亦都仲有好多地方係需要加倍努力嘅。咁希望我哋大家共同努力。咁跟住落嚟咧，我哋就會好快，因為我哋都好想知道究竟有啲乜嘢實際大家可以實踐到混合教育。咁我哋跟住我哋嘅嘉賓咧就係陳嘉怡小姐 Rachel， 咁佢係薯片叔叔共創社嘅共同創辦人啦。我深信其實大家好多人都認識Rachel， 亦都同佢接觸過，都俾佢嘅魅力同埋佢嘅魄力係一個好好嘅典範。咁佢今日同大家介紹嘅就係共創社即將推出一啲協助學校實踐混合教育嘅啲計劃。咁呢個時間就交俾 Rachel， 唔該。Rachel 係咪喺度？
係
，OK，
我開翻個 screen 先。咁好多謝大家啦。薯片叔叔共創社咧，其實係一個合作嘅平台。咁我哋今年咧，其實好開心咧，就有機會同 ISTE 同埋好多唔同嘅 partner， 包括本地同埋海外 partner 咧，去做一啲 project， 真係幫大家可以實踐混合教學嘅。咁頭先ISTE Annie 就介紹咗 ISTE 係一個好豐富嘅老師嘅培訓教育嘅 program 啦，咁我就唔再多講，但我想強調咧就係今次我哋同佢合作咧就係我哋就係做本地嗰個實踐嗰個 part 嘅，咁我哋就聯同頭先我哋見到好多支持嘅老師協會啦，我哋會有一個3個月嘅 local 嘅 application period， 就會有啲比較喺混合教學喺教育科技比較有經驗嘅老師咧，係可以同大家學校咧一齊去嘗試去將一啲理念去實踐。咁亦都提到咧，就係呢個好難得機會啦。我哋如果見到有啲好 committed 嘅學校，好想學呢一個混合教學嘅學校咧，ISTE 又會俾一啲獎學金出嚟，等佢哋可以 go through 一個 certification program 啦。我哋有啲 case study 嘅機會，去令到香港學校可以喺國際舞台嗰度去做分享啦。咁今次嘅機會咧，其實係一個 pilot 嚟嘅。咁我哋只係可以有位咧容許20間中小學，每間學校咧，我哋希望有3個代表，因為我哋好相信咧，要多啲學校嘅參與咧，先可以一齊學完之後咧，係將學到嘅理念去實踐。咁所以咧，真係希望大家快啲要把握呢個機會咯。咁其實有好多嘢大家可以學，但係有一樣嘢我想回應翻頭先阿 Richard 喺佢 talk 嗰度講，今時今日嘅 blended learning 咧，唔係限制淨係喺我哋本地香港。如果我哋透過同 ISTE 呢個咁國際嘅機構，佢哋咁全球嘅網絡去學習，其實會令到我哋嘅學校啦、我哋嘅老師啦，甚至乎我哋嘅同學，係以後嘅日子可以做到好多同全世界唔同地方一齊學習嘅機會。咁呢個係我哋真係好想做到。同埋咧，今日阿 Jeff 喺度咧，我哋都好想話到俾教育局聽咧，其實真係要俾多啲資源我哋嘅學校咧，去做呢一類嘅咁有質素嘅 professional development。咁大家記住快啲 scan 呢個 QR code 啦，因為有少少係鬥快，因為得20個位咧。咁我哋而家係邀請大家去 express 你嘅 interest 嘅。咁我哋會收咗之後咧，會揀一揀啦，因為我相信一定會多20間。嗰個 commitment 比較高嘅學校，我會俾多啲 priority 啦。同埋我哋都想係有唔同類型嘅學校參與。咁但係如果所有嘅分數一樣咧，最快嗰個咧就會有 priority。快啲 scan 呢個 QR code 大家。好啦。咁第二個 program 咧，其實就係同一個以色列嘅 startup 合作。咁一陣咧，其實佢哋會有代表詳細咁講。咁我而家咧好簡單咁講講究竟呢件係咩回事咧？我哋已經2021年啦，過咗21世紀嘅1/5，但係究竟我哋係咪講緊21世紀嘅語言咧？咁其中一個好重要嘅語言，21世紀就係編碼 coding 啦。我哋有個少少嘅 poll， 其實都想了解下咧。其實我哋今日在場嘅老師咧，有幾多其實已經係學緊啊、教緊嘅 poll， 做緊 coding 嘅咧，或者麻煩同事出一出呢個 poll 啊。好，我諗其實都差唔多啦。其實嗰個分野咧，大約係1/3、1/3咁樣。我哋係有唔同 level 嘅老師喺呢個編碼上邊嘅一啲進度嘅。咁所以咧，嚟緊我哋介紹呢個 program 咧，其實係好適合所有嘅老師、所有嘅學校、所有同學參與。我哋舊年咧，薯片叔叔共創社同數碼港咧就合辦咗一個教育科技企業嘅全球拓展計劃。整個計劃嘅目的咧係希望帶一啲創新啦、好玩啦、有用嘅教育科技嘅方案咧，俾我哋嘅香港學校老師同同學享用嘅。咁其中一個得獎者咧就係嚟自以色列嘅 CoderZ League。咁呢一個咧唔係新嘅 startup 嚟㗎啦。 其實咧佢哋嘅方案係一個 virtual 嘅 coding 同埋 STEM 嘅 learning platform， 已經今日喺全世界有幾十萬嘅同學用緊㗎啦。遠至喺南美啦、非洲啦，近至我哋亞洲喺新加坡啦，已經有人用緊。咁而家咧，我哋好希望將呢個機會咧介紹俾我哋香港嘅同學。咁大家睇一睇呢個好短嘅1分鐘嘅片，去 get a sense 究竟 CoderZ 個平台係點嘅。唔該去片。
As the role of robotics continues to grow in how we important. This is why CoderZ As the role of robotics continues to grow in how we live our lives, the role of robotics in education virtual robotics platform is becoming the leading learning environment of choice for students and educators through online courses and exciting virtual robotics competitions, which empower students and develop their 21st century skills in ways they never thought possible. No expensive equipment or special teacher training background knowledge is required, making the most equitable and sustainable STEM and robotics education program in the world. School adoptions continue to surge. We've brought virtual robotics to hundreds of thousands of students directly and through our global partners, including Amazon and Lego. So, partner with us to deliver to schools an inspiring and motivating STEM experience. Thank you, and may the code be with you.
今日咧好諷刺啊！我哋講 EdTech 咧，但係唔知點解今日咧好似同科技咧唔係好做到朋友咁。但唔緊要，用 EdTech 其中一個好處咧就係失敗咧，其實個 cost 好低。咁我哋 learn from 我哋啲 mistakes。咁我哋繼續咧去睇一睇，其實今次我哋薯片叔叔共創社同 CoderZ 呢個合作係點樣嘅先？其實我哋好希望咧，今次喺香港有一個突破。以往咧玩 coding 或者呢啲國際機械人比賽咧，通常都係每間學校咧就揾幾個所謂精英嘅同學玩。我哋今次咧係希望有呢個機會俾你哋全學校所有嘅同學去一齊學、一齊玩，透過比賽形式增加佢哋學習嗰個興趣。同埋個 good news to 今日嘅老師咧就係你唔需要好叻，唔需要識好多，你亦都唔需要好多 supervision 俾同學。同學可以自學。頭先提過 ISTE 嗰個 program 啦，有一個實踐嘅機會，你甚至乎可以用 CoderZ 呢個 project 咧做你個混合學習嘅 project。咁我哋真係好希望能夠全校利用呢個機會，令我哋嘅學生同學可以學到21世紀嘅語言同埋 skills。記住啊，唔係嗰啲我哋叫電腦痴 whiskers 嗰啲先需要學 coding， 同埋。我係女仔啦，女性啦，其實女仔一樣係可以 code， 甚至乎有國際研究講咧，女仔可能比男仔更加叻添啊嚇，唔係性別歧視。好，有咩好處咧？我哋好興奮咧，成個 CoderZ 呢個比賽一陣，CoderZ 嘅同事會解釋多啲。但我想講講有咩獎品，有咩好嘢先。我哋會有3隊代表香港出線嘅隊伍嘅。咁呢3隊同學咧，出年1月就會喺全世界同其他國家嘅同學咧，喺一個叫 Twitch TV 一個殿堂級嘅 gamer 嘅比賽平台嗰度，向全世界去表演比賽。跟住咧未完喎，呢3隊同學每隊有6個同學，即係成20個同學咧，佢會免費參加，連埋機票喺以色列一個 Summer Tech Camp 係1個禮拜，係超好玩。好多嘢學，咁我哋都會聯同好多香港嘅科技公司咧，提供一啲 job shadowing 嘅機會俾呢啲同學嘅，係非常之刺激。咁當然啦，一個決定 唔可以咁倉促，我哋都好明白嘅。咁而家咧，我哋有個 free trial offer 係 CoderZ 咧，特登俾我哋香港老師，直至到7月31號，你即刻 scan 咗呢個 QR code 上去登記，你就可以有個免費嘅 license 同你嘅同學一齊試。咁我哋亦都喺6月15同埋16號咧，有2個體驗嘅工作坊，你可以喺嗰個 QR code 嗰條 link 嗰度咧一齊報名，然之後你去決定。但係咧就唔好諗咁多啦。因為我哋個 early bird 咧好快喺7月9號咧就會完結嘅。咁其實CoderZ 所有嘅 platform 嘅 courses， 你而家見到呢度呢啲咧，7月1號就會開始㗎。咁啊早享受，快啲 acquire 個 license 咧，你就可以快啲同同學去玩啦。咁我諗咧，我嘅介紹咧就係咁多，要強調咧就係話，我哋好希望你係今次係全校一齊玩，其實係大約10蚊一個同學，每一個月由而家至到出年1月，你可以教佢哋咁多嘢，學咁多嘢。咁但係如果你真係覺得你未必想用全校嘅方法參與咧，我哋都有個別對製嘅 license 你可以買嘅。咁但係咧，始終都係嗰句，真係鼓勵你全校參與。如果你全校參與咧，我哋又都有特別安排咧。我哋會有啲 coding 嘅 professional 嚟自唔同嘅界別咧，佢會同老師一齊去提供一啲 coaching 同埋 mentorship 俾你同學。同埋頭先講過 Israel 個 Tech Camp 咧，無論你同學會唔會去到 final 都可以參加。我哋都同佢哋舉辦嗰度咧，傾咗個特別嘅折扣俾香港嘅學校參與。咁所以咧，好多有吸引嘅嘢。咁我諗咧，我講嘅嘢咧就唔值錢嘅，因為我唔係老師。我而家咧想請我哋有2位老師咧，佢之前都接觸過 CoderZ，去分享下點解佢哋覺得香港嘅學校可以考慮用呢個平台去教 coding、STEM 同埋21世紀嘅skills。咁我而家有請阿 Eric 同埋 Alan。
我哋請阿黃 Sir 開始先啦，唔該。
好啊，咁我先 share 我個 screen 先，等等。好，咁啊，大家睇到咁啊，係啦，聖公會基恩小學啦，我係黃 Sir 啦 ，Leonard。咁我哋咧就好有幸啦，咁其實我哋都即係試過用 CoderZ 擺喺嗰個嘅即係去睇下喺小學個階段咧，究竟CoderZ 可唔可以點樣幫到啲我哋嘅學習咧？特別喺 coding 嗰度咁樣，咁我就係啦。咁咧就其實咧 CoderZ 入邊咧，其實即係 on stage 咧，其實有好多個我稱佢為課程啦，一啲 course 啦。咁其實好多嗰啲編程嘅課程咧，其實好多時都係由淺入深啦。咁有啲係一啲比賽形式啊咁樣。咁我諗其實我特別咧紅圈咗一個位嘅，就係話咧係有啲嘅 Teachers Guide 咁樣。咁其實好多時我諗同事或者小學老師大家都明白咧，有時我哋未必我哋嘅本科咧就係由編程出身。咁好多時我哋去指導學生，我哋可能好想去指導學生嘅時候咧，我哋好想有多啲嘅 reference。咁佢好多時佢一啲譬如佢頭先呢個Cyberport 101咧，其實佢有個 Teachers Guide。咁其實入邊咧有好詳盡嘅一啲嘅嘅一啲嘅教師手冊啦，我哋叫做。咁咧就當然啦，佢原文咧其實係英文嚟嘅。咁但係大家都知咧，其實而家即係電腦技術好即係先進嘅時候咧，其實我可以講我就咁普通用一個嘅某一個嘅 Google Translate 咧，其實一做個翻譯咧，其實已經可以睇到。咁我諗有幾點咧，我想 highlight 嘅。第一咧就係譬如單喺一個 course 入邊，譬如個 Cyberport 嘅101咧，其實佢已經我印象中已經有15個 lessons。咁入邊咧，其實你見到佢最基本咧，即係唔係話就算佢講緊嗰個基本嘅導航咧，其實講緊都有2課嘅，即係有2節，而2節入邊咧係有唔同嘅 course 咁樣。咁你見到咧，其實嗰個嘅課程設計咧，其實好細緻，即係唔係話可能第一堂就教佢向前、向左、向右，但係第2堂咧已經做啲好 advanced 嘅嘢，令到學生咧或者甚至老師咧都唔能夠有好多啲嘅指導。咁呢個係佢做得幾好。咁入邊單喺一個 course 入邊咧，我真係去即係佢做過少少嘅計算咧， 其實單喺 Cyberport 呢個101呢個 course 入邊咧，其實已經有100個任務咧，其實學生係可以完成。咁你可以想像咧，同一個 course 入邊咧，佢可以由即係真正做到由淺入深，慢慢咧去了解，即係話個導航應該係點樣做啊？中間咧有一啲 slide，咁我咧好快俾埋啲 slide 大家睇。咁入邊啲 slide 咧，其實佢係即係譬如可能大家可能喺啲Google Slide 啊嗰度咧已經可以開到嗰個嘅教學嘅內容，咁佢會好簡單解釋咧，譬如好似一度咁樣，我攞咗其中一張咧，就係個重複循環啊 repeat loop 嗰個位咧，去解釋佢。咁其實你老師又好，或者學生都好咧，無論喺自學啦，或者喺即係喺老師去準備教材嘅時候咧，其實都已經可以吸收到。咁頭先一路有嘉賓都講 Richard 都有講啦，譬如我哋行 blended learning 嘅時候，其實當我哋學生喺佢喺學校嘅時候，佢可以自己咧有一個比較完整嘅課程咧，去一路 keep 住嗰個進度。咁所以學生咧先至能夠真正咧去學到。咁但係同一樣啦，如果我哋想有喺 face to face 去面授嘅時候咧，其實老師亦都可以有足夠嘅備課能力、足夠備課嘅材料咧，去指導學生咁樣。好啦，咁呢度咧有一個少少嘅即係呢個 screen cap 啦，咁俾大家睇下，幫下播唔播到先。
飛過嚟跟住咧有一層係裝生日嘅，跟住咧你知唔知另外嗰兩個係我入嘅喎？
冇聲嘅，點解？有乜鬼？
你刪咗音。
好，咁咧就係啦，咁你見到咧，其實呢個就係嗰個嘅即係個畫面入邊啦。咁其實咧學生咧就會控制一個少少一個半立體，一個立體式嘅機械人咧，去控制佢。咁其實咧其實係即係相當之像真。咁而同樣頭先都講啦，佢入邊咧係可以開一個 class 咧，係去keep track 住嗰啲學生嘅進度啦，佢做成點啊，做得點樣咁樣。咁我希望即係喺小學上嚟講咧，我覺得雖然個界面係英文，但係即係隨住科技嘅一啲幫助啦，同埋佢本身嘅設計係好細緻咧，其實喺小學度咧即係可以考慮一下。咦，其實我就覺得喺小學度咧，其實可以都幫到手咯。咁我將個時間咧交俾，喺中學可以點樣做咧？咁我將佢交俾 Eric。
好，唔該，黃 Sir。咁咧到我 share 我 screen 啦，咁等一陣先啦。OK， 我啲嘢比較特別嘅，因為咧喺我嘅過程當中咧，點解我哋會認識 CoderZ 咧係有個故事嘅。咁應該大家見到我 screen 咯。咁今日同大家分享咧，其實即係講即係 robotics training 喺個 learning 個 remote learning environment 啦。其實喺疫情爆發嘅開頭咧，我哋啱啱喺2020年嘅農曆年咧，帶咗我哋學生咧去以色列有個創科團。因為以色列有一個叫 Startup Nation 啊，咁咧我哋去咗呢一度啦，而喺呢度咧，我哋會見到一陣間有講者Yaris 咧喺當中用咗45分鐘嘅時間咧，同我哋分享到咧 CoderZ 個平台係點，咁亦都同我哋學生有啲交流。So actually I would like to thank Yaris to do the sharing to our teachers and students in Israel。喺個過程當中，當我哋落機咧翻到嚟，我哋就知道已經冇面授。我哋講緊 robotics training 根本上冇可能做到，因為我哋有一個social distance 社交距離。呢個過程當中，但係我哋會覺得喺 robotics training 裏面有好多好正嘅嘢，但係我哋需要去做。咁咧，我喺呢度好簡單介紹一啲情況啦，一啲情景啦。其實佢裏面一啲嘅 course 咧有啲唔同嘅問題啦。我哋以往學生咧譬如見到呢條橋啦，點樣行去目的地？我哋學生咧就可能將架車即刻寫個 program， 咁啊由得佢跌落去啦。咁但係其實我諗教學生寫 program 咧，唔係用 try and error 嘅方法嘅。其實裏面咧佢有啲 tools 係好正嘅，好似呢一度你會見到咧喺右手邊啦，有個嘅 measurement tools。其實我哋其實要教學生咧一啲最 basic 嘅嘢就係話，當我哋寫 program 咪有 planning 點樣用個 scientific 嘅 method 啦，去揾翻我哋要做到個 programming 嘅目的啦。好似呢一類啦，我哋見到哇咁大個圓形要走嘅時候，我哋點樣去睇咧？佢亦都有另外一啲 tools 用 angle 啦。其實係幫到我哋學生第一樣嘢咧，我哋要學識一樣嘢，寫 program 咧唔係望住啲曲嘅，係望住個情景，因為我哋解決問題，我哋解難學，訓練學生。咁頭先黃 Sir 話好多個 task 喎，係啊，我哋老師好驚咧，就係喂冇啲學生做到唔識咁點啊？如果你用老師 account 咧，咁你會發覺咧喺嗰個 task 咧，你可以開到個 solution 嘅。 咁變咗你有啲點子咧，你就知道點樣去教嗰啲學生。當然啦，我唔係咁 prefer 即係將個答案俾學生。另外一樣嘢咧就係其實我哋要教細路咧係 think procedurally， 其實逐步去做。呢度有個情景啦，即係話有架車，我需要去開咗嗰度閘，先至攞到裡面嘅寶石嘅。嗱，你聽到嘅嘢咧就係我要撳掣開閘，再入去攞寶石。其實咧已經有幾個嘅問題，點樣教啲細路 break down 佢咧？咁其實我哋先要教佢，喂，其實喺個步驟上面，當你去執行嘅時候，不如去學識第一部分啦。我哋先攞咗嗰嚿磚啦。好啦，去到呢度你見我停咗，點解咧？就係當我教 robotics 咧，我哋好多時候咧，就係我做完呢個步驟咧，我要再重新去試我 program 咧，我係要重新做個環境嘅設定嘅，做翻個 setting， 你執翻好啲磚啊，或者可能架車做錯咗撞爛晒啲嘢，又再重新 set 翻個場。喺 virtual environment 有個好處，佢有個方法就係你撳個掣可以 reset 翻個 mission。咁因為你其實比起以往咧，我哋做 robotics training 咧係慳咗好多時間。頭先黃 Sir 講咗啦，呢一個我部分學生嘅情況啦，咁我哋之前有做過 trial 咧，就係我哋可以見到學生嗰個 progress 啦，譬如喺呢個 task 用咗幾耐時間啦，同學都會用呢個做比較。咁常態其實學習嚟講，我哋都要諗下，其實我哋得半日嘅課堂，究竟我哋係不斷係adopt 緊，即係我哋買緊唔同嘅 hardware 啦，我買多幾套俾學生玩啦，定還是我哋要諗下其實 online service 係另外一個出路咧？第二樣嘢，當我哋買咗呢啲嘅 service 之後咧，其實我哋做唔做到一個即係學習均等嘅機會咧？其實我哋有限嘅 learning set， 即係有限嘅教材，其實能夠支援到幾多學生咧？喺學校空間嚟講，個 learning space 有限，我又能夠支援到幾多學生咧？所以咧我諗呢啲問題咧留翻俾大家。咁呢個咧係喺我哋當中即係參觀完嘅時候咧，同大家分享。多謝。將時間交翻俾 Rachel。
好，唔該晒。咁我諗咧，我哋而家係時候咧，請我哋CoderZ 嘅同事阿 Yorick 出嚟咧，真係介紹究竟 CoderZ 係咩啦，同埋嗰個好好玩嘅 CoderZ League 咧係啲咩嘢嚟㗎啦？唔該，有請阿 Yorick。Now let us welcome Yorick Levy from CoderZ from Israel. She woke up at 4 o'clock this morning to join us.
Thank you, Rachel. Good morning. I'm about to share my screen. A second. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, so thank you, Rachel, and good morning, and thank you to all Esperanza great team for all your hard work to create and this great impact in Hong Kong. And of course to all the teachers and educators here, you play such an important role in shaping students' future. Well, the future is in technology, and the technology in high level includes robotics. But before we talk about robots, let's talk about competition and why we need it and why virtual. Well, like in any sport, and I'm a big fan of sport, competition drives students' motivation to succeed. This is why they invest and try harder, and they are more committed and passionate. And when we go back to robots, kids love them. And through robots, we integrate all aspects of technologies, coding, mathematics, physics, engineering, and more in a very gamified way. Unfortunately, 99% of students don't have access to robots. And through virtual environment competition, we can provide every student across Hong Kong access to robots to have greater outreach and as a result to have a greater impact. Well, this is what makes CoderZ so unique. And this is the reason why in the past 2 months only, CoderZ won the EdTech Award as the Cool Tool, the best remote learning solution, and only last week, the professional development of CoderZ was added to the curated list of CSTA. Now, let's see what CoderZ League is and how can your students spend quality screen time. Can you please switch to this video? Thank you.
I got to use unique curve turns that I could create myself to help me get the balls in faster, and it really works my brain.
My favorite is RoboGolf because it's fun, I like sports, and I like to go to Topgolf.
This is our second year attending CoderZ, and we just love it.
So, over 150K students have participated in CoderZ virtual robotics competition in the past years. Only in 2020, we had students from more than 18 countries who ran their virtual robots all together almost 7 million times. It means that they had fun and they learned a lot. And this is why 87% of the teachers mentioned that they will recommend others to join. And this is why we, with Esperanza team, wants you to join too. So, how it works? As you saw, CoderZ League is divided to 3 different divisions. I know that there are many teachers here with different experience and background, as I saw. And the novice division is for those teachers and students with no background in coding and STEM. The junior division is for more experienced students, and the pro division, which is available in Blockly and Python, is for more advanced. So this is a brief review of the league structure. What's most important here is that only in Hong Kong, all the teachers, you will get access to all CoderZ curriculum to learn and prepare your students before the league starts. And the winning teams will be invited to Israel for a Big Idea summer camp. Any school which will purchase school license will get access to all CoderZ courses. The courses were designed by our leading pedagogical team who has thousands of hours in experiencing in teaching students. The curriculum takes you as a teacher step by step and all the students in the journey of learning process of STEM. And through the curriculum, you can prepare your students to succeed in CoderZ League. On September, we will introduce students CoderZ League games through an easy practice. This is your opportunity also to integrate the blended learning as we discussed here. Each team includes 6 students, and this is the opportunity for you to work with your students to set their goals, to define team values, to build your team spirits, and we will provide all the teachers teacher guide with optional solutions for the training camp to make sure that you are well prepared. Each division, both the junior, the pro, and the novice, has its own training camp, and at this moment, no scoring and no pressure. On October 27, we are ready to start and announce the official opening of the competition. The opening stage, which takes 5 weeks, include 3 games per division. For example, in the novice division, one of the game is RoboGolf. where students need to program the robot to put balls in holes and gain points in 10 to 15 different missions. But at the end of these missions, there is RoboGolf Challenge, where students need to program the robot and can improve their code over and over again. This phase is where students can showcase all the knowledge they learned throughout the curriculum and work together as a team to get higher and higher scores on the leaderboard. And we mentioned blended learning, and this is another opportunity for me to say that let's practice and showcase 21st century skills outside of the virtual environment. During the preliminaries, we are going to release also challenges where we want to see students' passion. The students will present their creativity, collaboration, how they solve problems through a presentation. And all the students, even those who are less interested in STEM and coding, will contribute to their team. The Hong Kong winning team in novice division will be announced by the end of the preliminaries and will be presented in the world finals. Right after this stage, in the junior division and the pro division, we are moving to the group stage. The top 64 teams will be divided to a group of 4, and this is where we release a new challenge. This challenge is going to be available to all the teams, but only the top 64 will get a chance to compete against AI. They will practice strategic thinking, problem solving, time management, and most important, teamwork. And they will try to win the CoderZ AI. The top 2 teams from each group advance to the playoff. And like in any sport, this is how the playoffs look like. We will assign teams to play with each other, and they will start from the first round until the finals of Hong Kong, both for junior division and for pro division. At this stage, we will announce the winning team of Hong Kong, and these teams will advance to the world finals, where they will compete with all the other teams, the winning teams from across the globe. We are going to broadcast it live, and all the students, and I can assure you that both parents and teachers join this session to watch the kids robots succeeding in this great event. And of course, in a competition, we have to share awards, because this is the reason why kids are joining this competition. So besides the first, second, and third place in Hong Kong per division, we will distribute the Inspiration Award, the Creativity Award, the Contribution Award, the Motivation Award of the students. More awards will be shared in our teacher guide and how you can qualify to these awards. And as mentioned before, the winning team will also be invited to the Big Idea Summer Camp in Israel. You as a teacher will have access to a live leaderboard together with the students. This is a great motivation tool for the kids to see how they ranked in order to improve their score over and over again. The students will manage to see how much they contributed to the team efforts. They will see the team score live, and they will see the team rank per each one of the challenges in game we released. And they will also, you as a teacher will also get an opportunity to see the overall leaderboard and compared to other teams across Hong Kong. As we shared before, the most important part is to make your life and to help you in the journey. This is why we provide so many resources, both when you get access to the curriculum and the courses, and also when the league starts, with unique teacher guide, with all the rules and knowledge-based centers. We also will share with you weekly updates to make sure that you are on track. This is the time frame of the league, and it's going to be published. So you can get access right now to free trial access and to enjoy the early bird deadline, to enjoy, sorry, the early bird prize. And we are looking forward to have all of you, because the most important part right now is to scan the QR code to join our webinars that we are planning. As Rachel mentioned before, we are planning tester test and tester session, sorry, and also to make sure that you register on time and get access to the curriculum. I look forward to see all of you joining this CoderZ League, and also all your students experiencing this exciting experience. Thank you.
I think we have time for a few questions to Yorit. Maybe Anita, you can moderate the session.
Sure. Thank you, Yorit. A very exciting sharing. As you know, I'm sure my kids will be very excited to join. There is a question on the floor asking about the difference between CoderZ and Code Monkey or Code Combat. Would you be able to give some insight on that, please?
Yes, this is a very familiar question. And as I shared at the beginning, first of all, CoderZ is not only about coding. Since we involve robotics, we integrate in our environment both physics and mathematics and engineering, mathematics, physics, and all these aspects that are part of the simulation. The simulation mimics real physics, so the behavior of the robots in the simulation is equivalent to the simulation that you see, to the behavior of the robot on the screen. On top of that, CoderZ also is the only environment where you can have more than one robots play on the same environment, and I can assure you that it's not like any other coding application that you have seen before, and I invite you to try it.
Great. Actually, I've heard a couple of users basically telling me that it's, you know, the creativity and also the interaction of the graphics, it's amazing. So I'm sure it's a superior experience with CoderZ. Okay, so I think that's all the questions I see from the chat. So thank you so much, Sherry, for sharing and waking up so early in the morning. And now I'm going to move back to Cantonese to continue for the rest of the sharing. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Let me see. Okay. So 我而家咧就會轉翻做廣東話噶啦，係啦。咁跟住落嚟咧，我哋就請到幾位專家同我哋分享一下，其實有啲乜嘢資源可以幫到大家去推行混合學習嘅。咁呢位3位嘉賓咧就包括咗香港教育大學數學與資訊科技學系教授、教學科技中心總監江兆祥教授，同埋香港中文大學學習科學與科技中心總監莊兆勇教授，同埋數碼港嘅代表 Terence。咁 Ambrose 係我哋呢個 panel 嘅主持，咁佢就代表咗 MWYO， 而 MWYO 就最近推出咗教育科技改革策略嘅報告，咁所以對今日嘅討論議題係好有關係嘅。咁我就將個時間交俾幾位嘉賓啦。咁 Ambrose 可以 take the
Hello， 咁多位
Hello，Thank
you Anita。係咁我都事不宜遲開始呢個討論啦。首先感謝大家啦，喺星期六嘅早上都聽咗3個鐘頭，依然都喺度繼續了解緊即係香港呢一個教育科技嘅發展啦。咁今日呢個 panelist 嘅 combination 我本身係覺得 very excited 嘅，原因咧係因為佢囊括咗幾個界別啦，好似啱啱 Anita 咁講。包括有學界啦，我哋今日有 Professor Kong 做 Professor John， 咁可以講多啲即係佢哋喺EdTech Research 以及一啲最近嘅即係 Application Experience 可以分享多啲俾我哋聽啦。咁另外我哋有 Terence 啦 from 數碼港嘅，咁數碼港喺即係 startup 嘅 sector 本身都好活躍啦 ，EdTech 都係其中一個好重要嘅 portfolio 嘅。咁我哋今日都可以聽多啲 Terence 去分享下，即係喺數碼港嘅唔同 startup inventions 入面，其實學校即係喺啲學校裏面 run 得成點樣咧？有冇啲好成功嘅經驗可以分享俾大家聽咧？咁最後我哋亦都有學校嘅代表啦，包括係金校長啦，同埋反轉教育協會嘅夏 Sir 啦，咁都可以講多啲喺學校前線嘅經驗。咁我哋今日有半個鐘頭，咁但係嘉賓陣容都好鼎盛啦，咁所以我都事不宜遲，將啲時間交翻俾幾位嘉賓咧，介紹下你哋最近即係好切實嘅工作啦，以及可以同翻咁多位在席嘅老師啦、學者啦、基金代表啦等等，去講下其實有啲乜嘢即係將來合作嘅空間，以及或者佢哋即係要繼續推動 EdTech 嘅時候有啲咩方向可以走咧？咁我相信大家都可以俾到好多 insights。不如我首先請 Professor Kong 可以 share screen share 下你最近嘅 experience。
好，唔該晒。咁咧就時間好緊迫，咁我就直接去到特別係喺支援呢個即係 online learning 呢方面。咁咧就題目咧而家好似順唔順利先，播唔播到咧？
我睇到你個 screen， 但係我就睇到嗰個 Zoom quit unexpectedly， 可能熄咗嗰個就應該 OK。
睇到你個 screen 呀，Professor Kong。OK， 唔該晒。咁嗱，嗰次我就5分鐘啦。其實咧，我哋有思考過呢個blended learning 咧嘅 issue 咧，對於我哋嚟講咧，就係其實係 blending 嗰個 physical 同埋 virtual 嘅 teaching learning。咁我哋8間大學咧，其實係收到政府咧一個係 VTL 嘅 virtual teaching learning。咁其實我哋好明白就唔係純粹係 virtual 嘅，我哋需要係blending 咗呢個 physical 同埋 virtual 嘅 teaching and learning 嘅。咁而家咧就大家都講嘅嗰個資源有咩支援啦，咁可以從兩個角度去睇嘅就係嗰個教學嘅設計同埋嗰個基建。從教學嘅角度嚟睇咧，其實 blended learning 咧都係時與空嘅一個交錯嚟嘅啫。咁時空交錯就導致到我哋而家嘅思考就由傳統嘅面對面嘅面授咧，就係進入咗個成年半嘅在線教學。咁但係其實大家做咗好多反轉教式嘅教學嘅工作㗎啦，嚟緊咧反轉教式嘅工作咧，只會喺加大嘅啫，越嚟越即係夏 Sir 嘅工作咧，亦都會越嚟越繁忙，因為呢個必然會發生嘅事情嚟㗎。咁但係傳統教育嘅小組學習啊、個別啊，同埋其實要即係再多啲，即係俾啲機會學生即係靜下啦，即係有啲反思嘅時間。嘅教學工作咧，其實係即係唔可以避免嘅。咁嚟緊新嘅，大家好有興趣嘅就係嗰個 blended 嘅 synchronized learning， 就係會唔會未來嘅班房事實上而家已經發生緊，就係 hybrid 啦。有人係全在線，亦都有人喺 online 咁樣入嚟嘅。咁但係頭先ISTE 嘅 Richard 都講咗其實最緊要就係越嚟越多啲 expert 可以入班房啦。咁其實 multi-location 嘅 course 咧喺大學裏邊係最雀躍啦，因為我哋可以將啲課程係跨地域啦。咁而中小學都有呢個好大嘅姊妹學校嘅空間。咁所以分組嘅活動將來係咪都一定要係physical 還是有 virtual？ 我諗都好大嘅變化啦。咁所以咧，其實我哋都有個好重要嘅睇法嘅，無論你點將佢 blended。頭先所講6個模式，其實你都係想增加嗰個效率同埋個教學效果嘅啫，目標就好清晰嘅。所以個 infrastructure 頭先薯片叔叔等等都有提到話我哋都要了解學校咁我哋要想知多啲，其實就兩個層次嘅，係要了解學嘅 infrastructure 嘅而家嘅狀況啦，同埋佢嘅 learning teaching 嘅準備嘅。咁當然都係要 review 嘅。infrastructure 嚟講咧，其實喺教育局喺咁耐嘅推動 BYD 幾年咧，其實個成果係相當之唔錯嘅。咁而家個疫情底下 BYD 嘅教學將會係往前走嘅。但另一方面，教大經過咗年幾嘅突然間轉咗做在線教育咧，其實我哋同事分享咗好多 educational app 嘅 panel 啦，各種嘅教育。咁其實佢好重要，因為佢係 engage 學生嘅。咁同埋咧，佢用咗 video 喎，因為你要拍到短片擺上嚟 share 啦，所以 video base 嘅 platform 咧都越嚟越重要。咁學校嘅班房設計都要多啲 video wall 等啲小組討論hybrid 嘅 classroom 其實就發覺係有再複雜啲嘅，需要有啲 video platform LMS Zoom 係令到嗰個 multi-location course 係成功嘅。咁既然有咁多 infrastructure 嘅需求咧，其實我哋就發覺以往我哋搞好個大學嘅 campus 嘅 infrastructure 就得啦。而家你發覺我哋屋企啦，自己今日啦，你見到蝦碌嘅嘢啦，其實得睇你慣唔慣啊，同埋即係當件事發生咗之後，你會唔會 rectify 令到你在線教育？咁我哋已經年半啦，咁所以你見到我哋都好順利嘅，冇辦法，因為呢個根本就係生活嚟嘅。咁所以咧， 就變咗好多人嘅在家工作或者係在家學習嗰個結構咧，其實係要需要支援嘅。咁啊，我哋自己搞大就 update 咗嘅，包括咗嗰個 video portal 咧係大咗10倍啊，嗰個國內條線要過嚟香港又加大咗啊。而家我哋用 Moodle， 不過我哋就集中咗要嗰個運轉能力強，因為你要將啲 learning data 做 analytic 啊。咁有一樣嘢要特別講啦。咁啊，頭先開始嘅時候就話交大會唔會喺在線教學上面有支援？事實上，我哋喺過往半年咧搞咗幾次大型過千人嘅 webinar，咁啊發覺好有需求㗎。咁所以我哋而家咧就做咗一個 portal， 即係而家搞緊一個 video portal， 係想俾公眾。咁頭先喺個 chat room 有人提到，會唔會有一個平台啊？啲校 Sir 做緊咩嘅教材都做嘅咧？嗰啲係起動緊，係將佢拍做短片幾分鐘嘅片，一個 topic 喺度做緊。但係你話做得幾多咧？暫時都唔係好多，咁我哋希望嚟緊就會再做多啲。咁我諗我嘅時間都過晒㗎啦，咁我交翻俾主持先。
係，我 mute 咗。Thank you Professor Kong。我都聽咗好多即係最近教大喺呢個 blended learning 以及即係點樣去將 physical 以及 virtual learning 呢樣嘢即係擺埋一齊嘅 experience 啊。咁或者而家都到Professor John 去 share 多啲，其實你喺中文大學
見到個 screen 嚟㗎
blended learning 係點樣咧？睇到你個 screen 嘅。
OK， 唔該你。咁咧就其實我喺我係 Morris 啦。咁其實我喺中文大學裏面都有幾頂帽嘅。咁今日我戴頂帽就係即係 from 我哋嗰個即係 CIST 啦。我係中心嘅 director 去講我哋即係 deliver 一個 talk 啦。咁咧就其實我都想透過一個機會咧講講我哋個 centre 就係其實個 mission 做啲咩東西㗎。咁就好快講啦，就其實你將我哋嗰個 centre 嘅名咧拆咗2個字啦，即係 learn technologies。咁就好明顯就係呢個就係講緊用科技幫助教育學。咁簡單嚟講就係 e-learning 啊，你講緊即係嗰啲 blended learning 啊，甚至乎你講緊即係我哋傳統啲，我哋成日用個 term 叫 ISTE education。咁我哋就做多啲咁嘅呢方面嘅工作嘅。咁另外一部分咧就 learn sciences。咁呢度咧就講緊我哋係即係想係要用啲比較科學方法咧，點樣去分析個 learning 同埋即係點樣去 improve 我哋 learning teaching strategies， 從我哋嗰個研究上嗰度睇嘅。咁所以咧其實呢兩樣嘢好夾嘅。點解咧？就係 learn technology 同埋 learn sciences 咧，一講到我哋去一個叫精準啊，或者一個即係科學方法走去分析 learning 嘅時間咧，其實咧我哋一定需要好多 data。咁而我哋用科技去學習咧就好啦，因為其實我哋學習嘅過程當中已經 lock 低好多 data 啦。咁再我哋可以做啲好精準嘅分析啦，咁加埋就可以 improve 我哋嗰個即係 learning teaching strategies 啦。咁所以我哋就成日都會成日話研究好重要，因為我哋研究完先知道咧，其實我哋而家推嗰樣嘢咧係咪真係 work 嘅。咁即係有時即係一開始唔係 work 嘅，咁但係我哋即係慢慢點樣 improve 佢啦。咁所以一直以來咧，其實有啲同工都即係可能誤會咗我哋中心咧，其實係做 STEM education 嘅。因為其實我哋講緊 learn science and technology， 以為我哋淨係做 STEM education。咁其實我哋乜嘢都做嘅，老實講。不過咧，我哋個名咧叫 learn science and technologies。咁其實我哋每一科我哋都會有涉獵到嘅嚇。咁因為其實 learn technology 同埋 learn science 咧，其實每一科都應該啱使嚇。咁或者其實我都可以 focus 少少，就講下我哋而家現時我哋中心做嗰啲工作啦嚇。咁其實我哋分幾個層面去做啦。咁teacher professional development 其實喺我哋即係中心，我哋佔我哋中心嘅一個好大部一個好大嘅 portion 一個工作嚟嘅。陣間可以再介紹多少少嘅。咁另外一啲叫做研究嘅一啲叫做即係 foci 啦，我哋做好多嘅遊戲化學習啦，我哋做flip classroom 都做好多嘅研究啦。咁另外 mobile learning 咧，即係我哋其中一個係都叫重中之重嚟嘅，就係即係如果你哋即係應該都可能聽過 EdgeVenture 個 platform 咧，都應該算係幾受歡迎嘅，就攞嚟做一個戶外探嘅學習嘅。咁好多我 understanding 有好多中小學啊，即係 special school 都係用緊我哋嘅平台去做嗰個戶外探嘅。但當然疫情底下就可能做唔到戶外探究，呢一嚿咧就可能要等疫情過咗後咧之後，可能先可以做得多少少啦。咁另外一部分咧，其實我哋做即係 VR and AR education 嗰個研究都做得都幾多下。其實我哋有另外一個平台叫 EdgeVenture VR 啦。咁同埋我哋都攞咗一個比較大嘅 project 咧，就係 JC support 嘅，就做 VR 擺落去中文教學上高，等間都可以同大家講幾句嘅。咁另外一部分咧就係做 STEM AI education 嘅部分啦。咁我哋近排咧做緊個 project 咧就係 JC STEM projects，咁就擺咗喺一個叫做 crossover between STEM education as well as social service learning 嘅 education 上高去做嘅嚇。咁頭先我講過就我哋一個好大嘅部分啦，我哋做緊一啲叫做即係老師培訓啦。其實呢啲咁培訓咧，全部我哋都係同呢啲合作多啲嘅。咁就我哋做咗好多嘅一啲叫做即係復修嘅課程啦。咁英文我叫做 refresher training courses 啦。咁如果你在職老師你知道嘅咧，即係每3年唔知你要 fulfill 可能150個鐘嘅在職培訓，咁即係呢啲咁嘅 courses 我哋做好多嘅。 咁當然啦，因為我哋即係中心咧，其實都係即係喺Learn Technology 係有啲心得啦，所以我哋即係呢啲咁嘅 RTC 咧，全部都係 focus 一啲咧喺我哋 e-learning 上高或者 blended learning 上高去做嘅。咁我哋即係基本上我哋啲 courses 咧都係講緊兩個套路啦。第一個套路就係講緊我哋用 IT 幫助 support 嗰個 self-directed learning， 另外一個套路咧就係幫助用 IT 幫助做 collective learning， 就係協助學習嘅。咁為咗呢個 seminar 我都即係分下書就其實過往我哋3年啦3學年咧，其實我哋都做咗幾多喎，因為我哋做咗23個 courses 咧係同 EDP 合作嘅，做咗好多個即係嗰啲復修嘅課程啦。咁尤其是我想 highlight 第5同埋第13個嘅。咁點解咧？呢兩個咧就其實咧我哋就用咗一個比較即係多嘅即係 online resources 啦，可以而家可以 share 俾學生、俾老師去仍然可以繼續使用嘅。咁第一個咧就係我哋即係喺應該如果冇記錯就2019年做嘅一個 YouTube channel 咧，就係即係呢個我哋都先知先覺喎，一個未有疫情之前我哋已經做嘅咯喎，同 EDP 合作。咁做一啲短片咧，其實教老師咧點樣去自學去做一啲電子學習嘅。咁如果大家有興趣嘅話，亦都可以睇翻我哋個 YouTube channel 上高咧，啲片仲喺度嘅。我哋都 order 得幾好，我哋分晒唔同嘅theme 咁樣嘅嚇。我哋有30條片啦。咁喺疫情爆發之後咧，其實咧喺如果冇記錯，大概我哋今年9月份咧，我哋同 EDP 所合作咧，就做咗一 set 嘅一啲叫做支援學生在家學習嗰啲 videos 咧，其實咧係幫助咧在職教師咧去點樣去用 Zoom 啊，用其他嘅 online 嘅 resources 咧去做一啲叫做即係屋企嘅 home teaching 等等嘅嘢啦嚇。咁其實我哋有唔同嘅 categories 嘅，我哋有小學教師啦，有中學教師，同埋有啲叫做學校領導嗰啲片段咁樣嘅。咁其實呢個我哋一個即係呢個係一個比較正式嘅 online course 嚟嘅。咁變咗咧，其實我哋係需要 enrollment 嘅，就唔係就咁上 YouTube 睇就算㗎啦嚇。咁我哋第一個 cohort 咧，我哋都做咗啦。我哋喺即係1、2月份嘅時候做咗第一個 cohort 啦。咁嚟緊個 cohort 咧，我哋會再 refund 嘅。咁如果大家有興趣嘅話，留意咧就係嗰個即係教嗰個叫做training calendar 啦。咁我哋喺6月份嘅時間，我哋會 refund 呢3 set 嘅 course 嘅。咁另外有一個即係我哋頭先啱啱 mention 過，就我哋做緊一個比較大嘅 project 咧，就係用 VR 咧去 support 嗰個中文教學嗰度嘅。咁喺呢個 project 上高咧，其實我哋係做咗好多嘅叫做e-learning 或者 blended learning resources 咧，大家都可以去使用咁樣嘅嚇。咁因為疫情關係咧，其實我哋其實上高都好多變種，因為其實咧本身係完全 totally blended learning 嘅。咁但係而家咧後期比較疫情發生嘅時間咧，我哋將整個嘢變咗 e-learning，fully e-learning。而家咧疫情好翻少少啦，我哋又再調適去做翻 blended learning 嘅嗰個 resources。咁你睇我哋網站咧，就會揾到好多information 係點樣用我哋啲 resources 咯嚇。咁另外一嚿咧就係我哋都係好彩咧，就攞咗一個比較大嘅 funding 啦，係 JC Support 嘅做 STEM 嘅一個 project。咁我哋個名叫 STEM in Action 嚇。咁中文名我哋叫做社區關懷與創意教育實踐計劃。咁其實咧簡單講，其實我哋呢個係嗰個 focus 咧就係 STEM education crossover social service learning 嘅嚇。咁尤其是咧，我哋希望咧就學生可以學到咧 STEM 個 knowledge 同埋 skills 咧，去幫一啲叫 underprivileged 喺香港 community 嗰啲人 full design thinking 啊。咁因為疫情關係咧，其實我哋咧成嚿嘢我哋都變晒陣㗎啦。本來我哋諗住咧係多啲 hands on 嘅，咁但係我哋而家都係 hands on 嘅部分 ，hands on 就變咗係真係叫做係下線嘅部分啦。咁因為疫情關係咧，其實我哋拍咗好多嘅唔同嘅STEM resource、STEM education 嘅嗰啲videos 啦，其實可以俾工大學校參考啦。咁另外咧，我哋呢個 project 咧其實一個好特別嘅地方咧。本來就係要學生去做一啲訪問咧，同一啲社會上高咧啲 underprivileged 嗰啲人士咧，其實睇下佢啲咩需要嘅。咁但係最尾我哋係做唔到個 face to face 訪問啦。咁即係我哋拍晒片，就係睇啲片段嘅話，你就可以知道咧，其實我哋唔同喺我哋社會上高咧，其實有啲唔同嘅人嘅需要啦。咁喺我哋 project 裏面，我哋有4個即係 categories，我哋尤其是 focus 喺社會房屋嘅居民啦、視障啦、聽障同四肢殘障嘅。咁各界同工即係都可以用我哋啲咁嘅 resources 啦，去點樣帶佢啲 STEM education 嗰啲學習啦，或者教學等等嘅嘢啦。咁另外一點咧就都可以宣傳下，就係我哋有個 master program 叫做Learn Science and Technologies 嘅。不過今年就完咗啦，嗰個報名係如果有興趣嘅話，下年可以報下。咁我今日分享咁多先，咁就等間 Q&A 嘅時間可以同大家再去討論一下我哋嗰個一啲工作嘅。咁如果你想知道多我哋嘅工作少少嘅話，其實最簡單係 Google 我哋 COST CHK 嘅話，就睇到我哋 website 啦，我哋 Facebook 同埋我哋 YouTube channel。OK， 唔該晒。
好 ，Thank you，Morris。Morris 啱啱喺5分鐘裏面都 share 咗好多佢哋最近 initiative 啦，包括 VR STEM 一啲即係你哋 professional development 啦。如果 Morris 方面嘅話，都可以喺嗰個 chat box 度 share 俾咁多位。
好啊。OK。
咁可以容易啲 follow 啦。咁希望咁多位都可以善用而家有嘅 resources 啦，咁可以即係喺 EdTech 嘅 implementation 上面可以做多少少嘢。咁嚟緊都想請 Terence 係啦 ，Terence 喺 Cyberport 就好有經驗啦，做即係關於 EdTech 嘅 technology 上面。咁我喺即係進行我呢個少少嘅 research 嗰度咧，都發現咗其實香港係有一個都幾 dynamic 嘅即係 EdTech 嘅環境啦。有好多 technology 其實都應用得到落去香港嘅學校。咁都所以想請 Terence 將即係呢啲 insights、呢啲 observations share 翻俾我哋即係在場嘅觀眾聽嘅。有請 Terence。
好，唔該 Ambrose，大家好啊，大家午安。咁咧就好客氣喎嚇，即係其實我都係跟大家學嘅啫，咁多年以嚟。咁咧今日就藉住呢個好短嘅時間咧，同大家分享一下即係數碼港喺呢一個嘅教育科技上面嘅一啲嘅工作啦嚇。咁其實即係呢度有幅圖咧，同大家即係一齊去睇睇。即係其實呢個就係學界同創科界之間咧有一個好似好大嘅鴻溝嘅。咁其實 Cyberport 咧就係一路咁多年以嚟都希望做到一個橋梁啊。咁就特別喺呢一個嘅科技教育啦，同埋教育科技兩者咧嚟到去做啲推動嘅。即係一方面就希望即係啲老師們啦，可以喺即係學嘅呢個科技嘅教育上面咧，點樣去多啲嘅 support 啦。另外咧就係通過我哋嘅初創公司咧，佢哋所做嘅一啲嘅教育科技嘅方案咧，嚟到去提供俾學界嘅。因為好多時我哋見到個難題就係咩咧？創科界嘅人咧，即係佢哋就唔識得點樣去 reach 嗰啲嘅學界嘅人啦，或者佢哋做出嚟嘅嘢咧閉門造車，唔能夠啱到學界嘅需要嘅。咁學界嚟講咧，有陣時即係忙於自己嘅工作，根本都冇時間去理解原來坊間咧係有好多嘅方法已經係工具啊，係幫到佢哋自己嘅教學啊咁樣樣。咁所以我哋希望即係呢個橋梁嘅角色能夠發揮到。咁其實 Cyberport 而家嚟講咧，即係大概都有成130間嘅一啲嘅公司咧，係做緊一個嘅教育科技嘅類型㗎啦。咁我哋咧其實就大概即係好籠統咁樣分咗5個大類啦嚇。咁就比較多咧，就其實係做一啲嘅 equipment 啊，或者係個 learning environment system 嗰類咁樣嘅公司啦嚇。咁另外就有 game-based learning 啊，或者係一個嘅沉浸式嘅學習嘅方案啦。咁另外就係一啲 e-learning 嘅 technology 啊，甚至係 solutions 啦。咁另外一種咧就係呢個一啲smart campus 嘅一啲嘅 solutions 啦。咁呢度就即係再用另一個角度同大家去即係睇一睇啲 grouping 啦嚇。咁其實呢度都未羅列晒所有公司，不過即係大概可以有一啲嘅感覺俾到大家睇。咁餘下落嚟嘅時間咧，即係我抽咗4個大類咧，介紹少少公司，即係等大家知道其實原來有啲方案可能已經用緊喺一啲學界裏邊啦，又或者其實佢 potentially 係佢可以幫到大家手嘅。咁growth 咧就應該好多學校都用緊㗎啦。咁其實佢哋一路個嗰個想法咧就係一個全方位式嘅記錄，去幫助去學校去通過一個 management system 嚟到去 track 住啲學生嘅數據，理解咗佢嘅成績啊，理解興趣啊，然後俾翻啲 feedback 嗰個嘅學校去跟進啲同學咁樣樣啦。咁其實後來佢亦都再更加多嘅嘢加咗落去喎。咁又有呢個嘅支付嘅系統，方便啲家長咧去交啲學校嘅費用嘅嚇。咁所以其實呢啲好受歡迎㗎，即係好多家長啊老師其實都好中意用一個咁樣嘅系統。咁另外右邊嗰個咧，一個叫做Steady 嘅一個嘅平台咧，其實佢就針對一啲 SEN 嘅學童嘅，因為其實而家知道咧喺學界裏邊好多時 SEN 嘅學生喺學校嘅環境裏邊未必得到妥善嘅一個照顧啦。咁呢一個平台咧就其實去建構出嚟咧，就希望喺個教育嘅過程裏邊方便啲老師去記錄低一啲 SEN 嘅學童佢哋喺邊啲方面有需要，然後做翻一啲嘅跟進嘅工作。咁另外呢一間公司咧，其實佢就做一個更加整合嘅平台嘅。咁佢都睇到就係其實喺疫情當中，大家基本上逼住要用 Zoom 啊，或者唔同一啲嘅網上視像嘅軟件平台嚟到去做一啲嘅教學。咁佢就可以整合到 Zoom 嘅教學之餘，仲喺裏邊加咗好多嘅附加值落去嘅，令到即係老師更加可以通過同一個平台，就唔使分幾十樣嘢嚟到去拆散嚟做。而通過佢哋呢個平台咧，去又可以做到 Zoom 啦，又可以做到啲教學嘅嘢，咁亦都仲有可以做埋通過個 app 去做啲獎勵計劃，咁等學校咧就可以即係更加理解埋啲同學喺唔同方面嘅發展嘅需要啦。咁另外一類咧就係關乎到一啲嘅比較係 game-based learning 啊，或者 immersive learning 嘅一種嘅平台啦嚇。 咁左邊嗰個咧就係一個嘅其實答題系統嚟嘅嚇，咁呢個嚟自台灣研發嘅 game 啦。咁其實喺香港我哋嘅初創公司去推動點樣去用呢個答題嘅平台，等啲學生好似玩遊戲咁啊。其實有啲似啊 CoderZ 嗰種嘅原理啊嘛。咁一路玩個遊戲嘅時候，一路開心去答啲問題。咁你中英數常啊，個學科其實都可以擺落個題庫裏邊嘅，咁令到啲學生即係好似玩緊遊戲，但係有一度學緊嘢、溫緊書咁樣咯。咁而右邊嗰個 STEM City 咧，其實就係即係主要係教 STEM 啦。咁佢就將佢成為一個好似我哋嗰啲模擬市民嗰啲城市咁樣樣去建構咗出嚟，然後喺裏邊咧就每一個自己有個 avatar 有個身份嘅，就可以入到去咧就學唔同嘅 STEM 嘅一啲嘅知識啦嚇。咁等啲學生亦都即係一路好似玩緊個遊戲，好開心咁樣學啲 STEM 嘅知識。咁另外呢一類咧就會見到譬如左邊嘅，咁有唔少公司，有唔少嘅學校其實都好熟悉呢間公司㗎。咁一個 iFloor 嘅solution， 即係將個投影嘅影像投喺地下度，咁就等啲學生可以透過過百個嘅遊戲啦，過十個遊戲，過百個嘅題目嚟到去學唔同嘅一啲嘅學科嘅知識啦。咁右邊嗰個咧，其實都幾有趣嘅。咁佢就用 VR 嘅技術嚟到去幫助一啲教學。咁其中有幅圖係左上角咧，其實有個叫做Speech Center。咁其實嗰個就係想做到咧，幫啲學生，譬如你要去練習去面試啦，或者去練習去做一啲嘅介紹嘅時候咧，你可以通過一個 VR 嘅情景咧，去掌握到望住啲觀眾嘅時候應該係咩反應啊？究竟你自己點樣講嘢嘅時候嗰個嘅心理質素係點樣啦？咁右邊嗰個咧就同教大有關嘅，就係同教大可持續發展教育中心咧一齊合作推出一啲VR 嘅可持續嘅遊戲，去教呢方面嘅知識俾學生啦。咁另外就佢有一個叫做背文之戰嘅遊戲，咁就挑戰啲學生咧去背一啲文章咁樣樣咁都係即係好得意咁，令到啲學生覺得原來即係都幾有趣嘅玩嘅喎咁樣。咁跟住就Find Solution AI 左邊呢間啦。咁其實佢哋即係好關心啲SEN 嘅學童嘅。咁其實通過你喺網上授課嘅時候，個鏡頭咧就發揮到好大作用啦。個鏡頭就會去 track 到學生嗰個嘅情緒表現啦。咁從而亦都知道嗰個學生喺當其時嗰個嘅答題嘅進度或者答題嗰個嘅心理嘅狀況啊。咁有晒啲數據分析之後咧， AI 亦都會去俾翻一啲嘅建議啦，等個學生可以調適到自己嘅學習嘅進度啦。咁其實佢哋而家最新嘅發展咧，就係即係連 TOEFL 嘅模擬考試咧，都同佢哋有個合作㗎啦。咁嚟緊咧就開始發展一啲 DSE 嘅一啲嘅課程啦。咁佢哋另外一個新嘅產品咧，可能都好受老師歡迎㗎。老師們而家喺網上授課嘅時候咧，就好多 video 嘅。咁佢能夠用佢嘅 AI 咧，幫嗰啲老師嘅 video 咧去變晒文字啊。咁大家之後就可以整合翻一啲 notes 咧去俾同學，就會慳翻好多功夫。咁右邊嗰個就係學中文嘅一個平台啦。咁但係針對嘅咧就係一啲非華語嘅學生啊。咁所以喺啲國際學校啦，甚至乎海外嘅一啲嘅學生，佢學中文咧，學點樣寫學點樣認字咧，都係靠一個咁樣嘅平台啦。咁喺疫情期間咧，已經係有成幾萬人咧係登記用戶嚟㗎啦。咁好啦，另外呢一個類別咧就譬如話有用呢個嘅 AI 去辨識你嘅聲音，然後去幫助你去學習你嘅語言，有個嘅有一個嘅回饋，可以知道你點樣去調節你自己學習嘅情況嚇。咁佢特別就係去即係譬如睇到你嘅語調啱唔啱啊，或者係嗰個發音精唔精準啊咁樣樣嚇。咁都係用人工智能嘅方式去幫你去掌握嘅。咁另外右邊嗰個就係一個嘅綜合性嘅平台啦。如果你啲學生係想學好多唔同嘅科目嘅，都可以嚟到一個咁嘅平台。咁呢個平台亦都係對接咗好多專業嘅教育工作者啦。咁佢哋成為個導師嘅。好啦，咁就最後即係一個類別嘅分享啦。咁左邊嗰個就智能沙箱啦。咁即係大家都可能喺過去嗰幾年嘅教育展都見過㗎啦。咁其實即係呢一種嘅實體嘅工具咧，可以幫到即係去教下啲地理科目啊，甚至可能一啲歷史科目嚇，咁都係用 AR 嘅方式嚟到做嘅。咁右邊嗰個咧就比較有興趣嘅，大家有機會嚟到數碼港參觀咧就可以試玩添。 因為呢一個其實就係通過一個賽車嘅遊戲，揸實體嘅賽車咧嚟到去教一啲 STEM 嘅原理嘅，特別係同工程啦、同汽車嗰個嘅一啲嘅原理有關嘅，所以你喺裏邊可以學到譬如啲力學啊，學到好多嘅物理嘅知識啊咁樣樣。咁佢有一套嘅 STEM 嘅 kit 啦，同埋有啲相應嘅課程已經係預備咗噶啦。好啦，最後呢兩個例子啦。咁都係一啲嘅 box set 嚟嘅，咁而家都好興啊，即係有好多嘅 box set，你定期每個月啊去寄到屋企裏邊，都可以學到一啲即係落手落腳 DIY 嘅，去做一啲咁樣嘅個別科目嘅學習。咁左邊嗰個就係學 STEM 噶啦，而右邊嗰個咧就學啲Biochem 啊咁嗰類嘅。咁有晒呢啲咁樣嘅tools 啦，有晒啲器材咧，好方便啲學生可以去學啦。同埋亦都有好多嘅網上嘅 video， 好多資源咧，相對應嚟到配合住去教嘅，咁就確保即係學嘅同學咧可以自己跟住個過程嚟到好完整咁樣學一個課程。係啦，咁啊今日時間關係，只能夠走馬看花咁樣介紹。咁其實日後如果大家仲有興趣咧去了解究竟我哋啲創科公司點樣去幫到大家咧，歡迎聯絡我嘅。多謝大家。
Thank you, Terence。我啱啱見到即係喺 webinar 嘅觀眾好多都對你哋唔同嘅 technology 所有興趣啦。咁我知 Rachel 喺完咗呢一個 event 之後都會 share 多啲資料俾大家睇嘅。咁亦都覺得即係喺大家可以善用翻本地嘅即係 local edtech 嘅 resources 咧，即係去擺翻喺香港嘅學校咧，應該係一件即係最合乎我哋嗰個香港教學需要嘅嘢嚟嘅。咁所以今日都好多謝 Terence 嘅分享，係啦。咁而家都事不宜遲，去到揾下啲學校嘅代表同我哋傾下偈啦。咁而家想請金校長，香港電腦學會主席，係啦。咁都知道金校長有做好多即係 AI 教育相關嘅嘢啦。咁可能可以分享下啲經驗俾我哋聽，以及睇下即係其他人喺學校裏面又可以點樣 run 咧？如果要細嘅 scale、大嘅 scale 又可以點樣做咧？咁樣，咁我交時間俾金校長。個 screen 暫時未睇到。
喂，聽唔聽到？
聽到你把聲，但係個 screen 都暫時唔係好 work。睇到個叫做has started screen sharing 呢個畫面。
聽唔聽到？喂，聽唔聽到？唔好意思，頭先啱就都係啲 tag 嘅問題啊，咁啊死咗，跟住 quit 咗出去。咁咧就我依家再開多次個 PowerPoint 先等啦。OK， 好，我再 share 多次。係 OK， 好，咁唔好意思，因為即係technology 都係咁啊，但係又即係都係解決得到嘅問題都係。OK， 咁我今日戴頂帽其實都唔係學校，都係用翻香港電腦教育學會啦。因為之前阿 Rachel 都係講，即係究竟會入邊其實有冇啲咩嘢係同 Blended Learning 係相關咧咁樣。咁其實個會其實都即係一個教師嘅會啦，一個 Teacher Association 嚟嘅。咁其實都成立咗40年㗎啦。由最早期推電腦教育啦，跟住一路去到資訊科技教育啊、e-learning 啊，近期嘅 STEM 啊、AI 啊，其實都我哋都一路好即係做好多嘅。咁當然即係近呢年幾，因為疫情關係啦，其實好多嘢都同 Blended Learning 相關㗎啦，都搬咗上去網上面做嘅。咁好快咁樣睇一睇啦。咁其實其中有一個咧，其實同 Blended Learning 好大嘅關係咧，就係我哋有2個挑戰獎勵計劃嘅。咁左邊嗰個咧，其實就係俾小學嘅，有一個叫 ITCA 啊，叫做咁就俾小學。咁中學嗰邊咧就喺呢一個就係俾中學嘅，就係青年資訊科技大使計劃。咁其實咧就通過呢個計劃咧，其實同學咧係都需要自學，老師亦都需要跟進嘅。咁所以其實係一個 blended mode 嚟嘅。咁裏邊其實我哋都會 introduce 咧好多唔同嘅 tools 咧，就俾老師啦。咁裏邊會有啲老師嘅一啲即係一啲workshop 啊，一啲介紹啊。咁例如Google 嘅 CS-First 啊，AWS 入邊有啲 Educate 嘅一啲 platform 啊。咁Cisco Academy 啊，同埋 Microsoft Learn 咧，其實都係我哋即係會介紹俾老師，然之後老師咧可以通過啲平台啦，就係即係等學生可以喺自己屋企入邊啊，或者喺學校去完成一啲嘅 task 嘅。咁考到唔同嘅，即係完成咗唔同嘅 task 之後咧，佢就達咗啲要求啦，咁佢就可以考金銀銅章。咁佢見到其實就考獎章嗰個制度啦。每年其實我哋都係 Cyberport 嘅，即係所以我哋每年都同 Terence 有個合作，就係喺 Cyberport 咧有個大型嘅頒獎禮嘅。 但係因為當然呢2年疫情啦，所以我哋個頒獎禮都變咗 virtual 啊，都係。好，咁好快講下少少啦，即係例如我哋喺個成個 program 入邊，其實有啲 Cisco 嘅 Academy 嘅一啲課程啦，咁呢啲其實全部都係免費嘅 resources 嚟嘅。咁但係要俾老師知道有呢個 platform 啦，其實我哋有唔同嘅 program 嘅跟嘅，例如我哋有個比賽啦。咁比賽其實學生都係要通過呢個 platform 入邊學咗某一啲嘅 chapter， 咁然之後先可以參加比賽。所以通過呢個比賽咧，我又介紹俾老師咧呢個 platform， 然之後就等學生有個 blended learning 嘅機會咯。好，咁另外就Microsoft Learn 啦，咁其實上面亦都有好多好好嘅 resources， 亦都係免費嘅。咁學校啊同埋老師咧都可以免費去用啦。咁我哋又係通過唔同嘅一啲 program 咧去介紹呢啲 platform 俾老師啊，即係例如我哋有個香港電腦教學會同埋 Microsoft 有個 AI Pilot School 嘅 scheme 啦。咁喺個 scheme 入邊咧因為俾老師同學生考一啲專業嘅試。咁但係其實啲專業試咧個 learning material 喺邊度咧？就係頭先 Microsoft Learn 嗰個 platform 上邊嘅。咁所以其實咧學校即係可以運用嗰個 platform， 咁等學生咧就喺屋企去睇嗰啲即係一啲 material 啦。咁甚至佢考試咧都係可以 online 考嘅，即係一個 virtual book 咗個時間 online 去考。咁當然有啲部分咧學校會將佢擺喺學校即係現場見到學生嘅時候教佢，有啲部分咧就學生都可以自己喺屋企學嘅 ，OK， 都係一個 blended learning mode。咁當然另外有啲 AWS 嘅 Educate 啦，咁呢啲快少少啦，例如有 CS First 嘅一啲嘅platform 啦，裏邊都有好多嘅 resources 嘅。咁我又即係有啲唔同嘅一啲seminar 啊，或者一啲嘅 workshop 啊，就介紹俾老師呢啲 platform 啦。咁另外呢個就一個 training program 就俾老師嘅。咁老師學完之後咧，其實都係喺一個 blended mode 去做嘅。依家因為依家係即係疫情關係，真正面授嘅課堂嘅時間咧唔夠，咁好多時都係做咗一個即係混合式去做。咁呢個我哋係即係介紹緊Google Education 入邊咧，其實咧都有一啲嘅一啲 coding 嘅 platform 嘅，例如即係一個 Apple 嘅Apple Playground 啊，呢啲都係 OK。咁係同 Apple Education 一個合作嚟嘅。好，咁跟住就Out of Code 啦，咁呢啲又係好常用啊，老師。咁Code.org 啦，咁又係一個非常之豐富學 coding 嘅一個 platform。咁同埋頭先同工都提過，頭先有 CodeCombat 啦 ，CodeCombat 其實同我哋會都係有啲合作啦，即係搞一啲嘅比賽啦，咁甚至係一啲 international 嘅比賽嚟嘅。咁通過呢啲比賽咧，其實都係想介紹一個 CodeCombat 呢個 platform 咧，俾即係 local 嘅老師認識。咁然之後咧就等老師可以用呢啲 platform 咧即係教學生 coding。咁同埋都係一啲 blended 嘅 mode 咧，因為通過呢啲 platform 其實老師好容易就睇到咧學生嘅進度啊，學生學習嘅情況啊。咁其實我諗由最早期頭先今日嗰個webinar 一開始嘅時候都講，即係要 blended learning 成功咧除咗一啲教材、一啲 platform 之外咧，好重要就係老師嘅 training。所以我哋成日喺度動好多即係唔同嘅團體合作啦，將一啲嘅program 咧就介紹俾老師。咁如果有興趣咧，即係想再知多啲，可以隨時email 我哋啦。OK， 咁我嘅分享到呢度啦，唔該。
Thank you，金校長。我諗我哋今日嗰個 Q&A 時間都未必好多啊，咁所以咧都想請夏 Sir 分享之前咧都可以請咁多位嘉賓可以喺個 chat box 度留低自己嘅聯絡方法啦，等我哋唔同 webinar 嘅 attendees 都可以揾下大家嘅，係啦。咁而家最後就想請夏 Sir 啦，咁夏 Sir 本身好出名啦，做即係反轉教育協會嘅chairman 啦，亦都有自己嘅 YouTube channel 去介紹好多唔同反轉教學嘅方法啦。咁而家都想請夏 Sir 即係花少少時間講下你最近即係嘅 breakthrough 或者啲新嘅工作俾我哋聽。
係啦，大家好啦，咁我係夏 Sir 啦，咁咧就過往我哋會都係做開flip learning 啦，即係翻轉教學，咁咧就而家即係所謂新常態啦，或者而家講嘅 blended learning， 咁都係即係因為嗰個疫情關係，令到即係我哋少咗啲面授課堂啊，咁咧就變咗即係好多嘢拱咗去網上教啦。咁但係我都會今日想同大家都會講下，即係我仲係前線老師嚟嘅，即係仲係喺度每日喺度上網課啦，或者上面授課堂啦。咁基本上你入到課室或者上到網課，其實有即係有啲嘢係要留意下嘅，因為咧即係今日時間短啦，5分鐘，咁我就 講一講，即係譬如面授課堂同網上課堂佢最大嘅唔同喺邊度咧？我哋要先了解佢哋個nature 啦。咁我就冇 slide 嘅啦，咁咧就我有一張紙好簡單咁樣掃係啦，睇下掃咧掃唔到喎，我照讀出嚟啦。咁面授課堂其實最大即係佢嘅特性就係即係我哋面對面幾多學生㗎嘛，喺同一個地方進行。咁網上佢最大好處就係你可以唔同地方進行，唔同嘅時間進行。咁但係面授佢另外一個好處就係即係可以好多人一齊互動咯，老師學生即係一齊 interact。咁呢個喺網上咧係稍為難一啲做嘅，唔係做唔到都做到嘅。只不過即係可能大家隔住個 mon 啦，可能就係會有少少即係比較疏遠咗嘅感覺同學生。咁另外面授課堂嗰兩個強項就係話佢可以見到學生個表情啦、body language 啦，嗰啲係好重要嘅元素嚟㗎嘛。因為學生識唔識，我哋即時去望到。咁頭先今朝我都聽到好多嘢，譬如即係一開始嘅時候咧，即係ISTE 嘅 Richard 講過咧，就話即係我哋要諗兩者個優勢，面授課堂嘅優勢同埋網上教學或者即係課堂個優勢。嗱，面授最大優勢就係人齊啦。咁人齊嘅時候咧，即係我哋應該要做多啲交流活動嘅。即係我哋設計我哋嘅課堂嘅時候咧，如果想做 blended learning 嘅時候咧，個老師入到課室咧，我就諗啦，我會見到好落晒喺度啊，時間好寶貴嘅，半日制，下晝冇得上堂，因為唔可以食飯啊嘛。咁所以我哋點樣善用面授課堂嗰個時間咧？就係最好就做多啲互動教學，係咪？做功課啦，做多啲小組討論啦，做多啲解難啦，做多啲探究啦咁樣。咁咧就真係要減少啲單向教學嘅時間，即係嗰啲 direct teaching 嗰啲咧，就盡量拱翻去網上度做啊。因為咧即係時間寶貴啊嘛，即係我哋要做啲比較 high order 嘅嘢。咁至於網上教嘅優勢邊度咧，就係話佢其實個學生。佢有個空間可以自學喎，特別係而家半日制，下晝學生翻屋企，咁佢做咩咧咁樣？其實你可以俾啲教材俾佢自學，即係透過例如可能咧，譬如學鼓勵一啲自主學習嘅一啲計劃啦。其實學生有空間去做呢樣嘢嘅，因為以往全日制咧，基本上我哋係你可以話係即係擺咗學生喺學校個場景裏邊，令到佢係嘛自學嘅空間可能會少啲。但係而家佢有空間做噶嘛，佢時間多咗，空間大咗。咁我譬如老師好簡單啦，譬如就透過影片啦，透過學習平台啦 ，Google Classroom 啦 ，Schoology 咧，俾佢去自學。咁佢唔做咧，咁我哋就去跟進佢。佢唔做，我哋跟進佢。咁咪咧就係要跟進嘅。咁但係我哋跟進就好簡單啦，因為我哋仲有面授課堂啊嘛。半日就係我哋見到學生嘅時候咧，就追佢去，即係佢哋網上學習有唔做嘅地方咧，咁我哋追翻佢做翻，咁就先能夠比較善用到兩邊嗰個嘅優勢咁樣。咁即係呢個可以話係一個，即係我哋會覺得喺個新常態裏邊咧，係即係唔好淨係諗，因為好多老師都會有咁嘅諗法嘅。網課咁樣個互動性點及面授課堂啊，即係好似有少少覺得網課嘅限制好大咁樣，反為少咗諗佢嗰個優勢嗰部分。咁我想講嘅就咁多啦。
Thank you，阿 Sir。係啊，即係好認同啊！嗰個成日諗，即係可能有好多框框啦，但係同時地其實嗰個網課 blended learning 嗰個想像空間喺撇除嘅框框以外都可能好大嘅。咁呢一點好值得去同意以及去繼續加以推廣。咁今日時間有限啦，我諗呢個 session 都去到呢個環節啦。咁我將時間交翻俾司儀Anita。
好啊，唔該晒。好多謝咁多位分享咗好多好精彩嘅資源俾我哋。咁相信大家我哋見到個 chat 咧都有好多交流啊。咁我相信今日嘅目的都達到啦，即係大家亦都用咗2個半，差唔多3個小時喺即係星期一個星期六嘅早上去聽呢個分享，亦都證明咗其實大家都係一班好有心嘅教育界先驅者，即係都係希望可以帶俾一啲好嘅優勢俾到香港下一代嘅小朋友啦，亦都幫佢哋培育21世紀嘅技能。 咁仲有幾件事好快交代完，咁我哋就可以去食晏啦。咁第一咧就請大家咧就等我將個 slide 係啦。咁睇到啦，我哋要多謝大家啦，因為呢一條路咧係我哋大家行出嚟嘅。咁亦都希望咧你哋可以俾啲 feedback Esperanza 等我哋可以繼續幫大家搞更多適合嘅活動啦。咁呢個 QR code 咧就係你可以 scan 咗佢，然後填個 feedback form 俾我哋啦。咁呢個第一樣嘢啦嚇。咁跟住咧就當然就係今日我哋重點推介嗰兩個項目。咁下一張 slide 咧就係我哋另外嗰兩個活動嘅 QR code 啦。咁頭先 Rachel 所講啦，呢個大家一定要爭取呢個可以有 teacher training 嗰20間學校嘅機會啦。咁同埋 CoderZ 呢個 League 亦都係有 teacher trial training 可以試嘅。咁亦都希望大家可以踴躍把握呢兩個非常之好而由 Esperanza 帶俾大家嘅一啲可以做 blended learning 同埋培育下一代嘅技能嘅一個機會。咁係啦，咁我就可以去翻頭先 feedback form 嗰度啦。等一陣先嚇，係啦，我睇睇呢個係，我將個 feedback form 再上多一版俾大家再 scan， 如果 miss 咗，咁係啦，咁同埋咧就係嗰個兩個 event QR code。咁喺呢度我就會close 今日個 webinar 啦。如果大家再有冇其他補充或者係問題，咁如果再有其他問題，亦都可以喺 chat 嗰度再打入去嘅。咁我哋都會有同事幫手會再 note 低同埋答翻大家嘅。OK， 咁我就喺呢度就大家可以陸陸續續咁樣離開啦。Thank you。